Good evening. I will reconvene in open session this meeting of the Arlington ISD Board of Trustees on October 2nd, 2025, beginning at 7:20 p.m. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our board meetings are open to the public, and we welcome everyone for participating and thank them for participating in public education. While our meetings are open to the public, this is a meeting, and we do have business to conduct. Disruptions will not be permitted, and anyone who disrupts the meeting or speaks when others are speaking may be asked to leave or be escorted out by the security attending the meeting. We always welcome civic input, but insist that we remain respectful and civil. We'll begin tonight with our pledges of allegiance led by Atherton Elementary student Josue Chavez.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. At this time, we'll take a moment of silence. All right. To learn a bit more about the student who led us in the pledges tonight, I'll turn it over to our Chief Communications Officer, Taina Northington.
Thank you so much, President Chapa. If we can ask Josue to stand up once again so we can make sure we get him on camera. I know there's a lot of people here, but I just wanted you guys to see his beaming smile. So Josue is actually a 6th grader who goes to Atherton. His favorite teacher was his 4th grade math teacher, Mrs. Cuevas, and he tells me he loves math. He wants to actually grow up to play basketball professionally, and I asked him, how will he weave in basketball and math? And he said he would be investing, and so as a basketball player, he'll use that money to invest in the community, Arlington ISD Education Foundation. And we know that he will make a namesake, maybe even will name a stadium or gym after you one day. You never know. I know that his time in Arlington is always filled with hamburgers, and he loves a good cheeseburger. His younger brother, who is in 2nd grade, Andre, is also here with us tonight. They're full of energy, and you can just feel the pride that they have for their campus, for our district, and I know we're going to celebrate you. I told you we're going to bring you back here when you're a basketball player and you've won a championship so we can celebrate you even more in Arlington ISD. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, Ms. Northington isn't exaggerating. I am board president today, but once upon a time, I was an Atherton All-Star myself. Yeah. All right, the first part of our agenda tonight is recognitions, and after our recognitions this evening, we'll take a short recess to take pictures with our honorees here in the boardroom and in the lobby. Leading the recognition portion of the agenda tonight, and we'll turn it back over to our Chief Communications Officer, Ms. Northington, who will be joined by Vice President Sarah McMurrow.
We're going to start this evening with an incredible showcase of talent. As you can all see in front of you, we have the incredible students from Ousley Junior High School here with us this evening. As one of the most diverse campuses in our district, Ousley is home to the Panther Choir that has nearly 200 members. So we are happy that they're here with us tonight. This group of students are actually across 6 different performing groups. The choirs consistently earn top honors at UIL, perform at festivities across the Metroplex, and the campus has earned an A rating from TEA for the past 3 years. This evening, the combined varsity choirs will perform Es Tu Tiempo by Francisco Nunez, a piece that celebrates hope, resilience, and unity, qualities that truly reflect the spirit of Ousley and its students. I do want to take a moment to recognize the directors of the choir with us this evening. We have Christopher Wagner and Micah Stanley, who are the directors of the choirs. So please give them a round of applause. We all know, and these students before you tonight know the impact that they make on their lives and allowing them to explore their talents and abilities. So take a chance to believe in what you can be and dream. Es tu tiempo, it's your time. Let's give them one more round of applause. I know there's plenty of students that took time out of their evening tonight. Thank you so much. Beautiful. I love the hearing in the words. It was beautiful. Thank you so much to Ousley, and thank you also to Ms. Barbara for coordinating and bringing us a beautiful group to perform with us this evening. As they make their way, I do want to go ahead and invite, we've got Trustee Sarah McMurrow and Dr. Smith who are going to be joining us for the next portion, which is our honors and recognitions. And so I wanted to make sure that we really showcase and highlight one student. And so I'm going to have a video play while they are transitioning out so we can make sure that we have everyone in place. So if Frank will cue our video and we can make sure that we have a transition. Thank you so much, Ousley, once again.
Congratulations to Tatum being selected the Arlington College and Career High School Student of the Month. When our students start here, we tell them the students we're looking for are those who want to work hard and have a good attitude. Tatum epitomizes those two things. Since day one as a freshman, she's shown up with the right attitude, willing to help out peers, willing to help out teachers, willing to help out the campus. She's also participating in many extracurricular activities at our campus. She's volunteered at Mission Arlington, done a ring the bell for Salvation Army.
There's nobody that deserves Student of the Month more than Tatum. She is a fantastic student. She's the student that's definitely applied for the most scholarships and completed the most college applications.
I've known Tatum since she was a sophomore in my chemistry class. She was always just a good human. She's very kind. She's always willing to help peers. She's always willing to help her teachers. She's very active in student council on our campus. Tatum worked on our student council board. I see students stop there all the time in the hallway just to see what's going on in our campus. She took the initiative to put it together, and it really just shows how much she cares about our school.
Tatum is a natural-born leader. She's going to help us recruit more students in October for the class of 2030. She's currently taking courses at Texas Wesleyan University, working toward her teacher certification. What makes her journey even more special is that she's now observing students in a 4th grade classroom that she once attended, Little Elementary.
While she was here at JB Little, she was a model student, a leader for others, and showed kindness to her peers. We are so excited that she's going into the field of education. She will be an amazing educator.
Tatum is a strong and passionate young woman who's going to make a great teacher, and I'm absolutely proud of her. Congratulations, Tatum.
We're very proud of her, and we'd like to congratulate her for her selection of Student of the Month.
Congratulations, and please welcome, I know we have her proud principal, Principal Bolin, and we also have Tatum joining us. Please welcome Tatum, our Student of the Month for October.
All right, President Chapa, members of the board, Dr. Smith, thank you for giving us this opportunity to recognize one of the outstanding students in our district. And you heard a lot about Tatum there, and I know, Dr. Smith, you've got something to present her. So maybe you also have a pre-offer letter, because she said she wants to teach in AISD. So
there's no doubt about it. I just need to write it up.
I wish you wanted to teach high school, but you want to teach elementary. So without further ado, I'd like to present the Student of the Month for AISD in October, and for Arlington College and Career High School, Tatum Scari.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith and members of the board. I'm truly honored to have been chosen as Student of the Month. This recognition means so much to me, and I know I couldn't be standing here without all of the people who have supported and guided me. First, I want to thank God for giving me strength, patience, and blessings that make each day possible. I also want to thank my parents who are here with me tonight for always encouraging me, teaching me the value of hard work, and for introducing me to this opportunity in 8th grade. To my grandma, thank you for all of your love and support and everything me and Jayton do. I would like to thank AISD for creating a school like ACCHS where we are endlessly surrounded by some of the best teachers and staff like Dr. Bolin, and where we have the chance to earn our associate's degree along with our high school diploma. I also want to recognize my teachers who not only teach us lessons in the classroom, but also inspire us to grow as people. Mr. Cole, thank you for helping me run for a student council officer position in 9th grade. Ms. Cooper, Ms. Miller, Ms. Metter, and Mr. Cole, thank you all for listening to our ideas in Student Council, no matter how big they are. And Ms. Dow, thank you for sponsoring Key Club and National Honor Society and encouraging us to become active members in our community. Thank you to Ms. Woodard and Ms. Bodovich for welcoming me back to your school and classroom to get observation hours for my education course this semester. Thank you to all my teachers for teaching me something new every year and for trying to give us as many opportunities as possible. Your dedication and encouragement have helped me to do my best and have inspired me to become a teacher myself. This award is not just about me, it reflects the support of everyone in my life who pushes me to do better each day. Thank you so much for this honor.
I don't have to say a whole lot when you hear that video and you hear Tatum speak right here. We are so proud of students like Tatum in our system. Tatum, thank you for being a great representative of Arlington ISD. Obviously, you're well deserving of the award, but one of the things that stood out to me the most in that video was not only are you working hard and doing great things academically, but your teachers describe you as a good human too. So thank you for being someone that we're proud to honor in Arlington ISD. Congratulations on being our Student of the Month.
Tatum, it's great to see you, the former JB Little Rascal. I agree with everything Dr. Smith said. And not only are you an initiative taker, you have a kind heart, you're hardworking in your studies. My favorite thing about everything that was said about you and what we can see happening in your school and the impact you make is that you are taking your leadership skills and you're fostering those traits in others. And that's just one of the many things that's going to make you a successful teacher. Congratulations. And here's a pin that Dr. Smith and all of our school board wear, and we would love for you to wear this pin. And just remember, Arlington ISD, when you go on to do amazing things and become a very successful teacher, come back and do it with us, okay? All right, congratulations.
If I could ask that you guys stay here, we've got one more exciting opportunity to honor students with, and we will take photos once we go into recess formally. But I also wanted to have you join us for some honors and recognitions for a very special student. So I think, there we go. Felt like I was going to go ahead and see if Frank can cue a video for us to help us really introduce, and you guys kind of have the hype value element of what our next honor and recognition is all about this evening. He's giving us the 2 thumbs up for one of our students because our Arlington ISD student from Seguin High School was selected as the nominee from the Dallas Cowboys. So let me explain how cool this is. Of all 32 NFL teams, each team gets one student, just one, to nominate a male and a female student. And this is a Hispanic student that performs well in their sport, excels academically, and displays great pride in their culture. And our very own student, Adrian Contreras, was nominated from the Dallas Cowboys as the NFL Latino Youth Honor Award nominee. So huge congratulations. I want to tell you a little bit about what this man puts and does, not only in the classroom, but on the field. I had to learn a little bit of this lingo, so bear with me. You are not only an impressive student with a GPA of 3.6, but you last year recorded 9 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, and an interception. That's good, unless you're playing the Cowboys, then we don't want that. If you are selected for this award or makes the top 8 of all the students, he gets to go to the Super Bowl. And should he win, he would receive a $25,000 scholarship. This is incredible. So without further ado, we are so appreciative that you are right here and you found our home in Arlington ISD. And not only that you represent us proudly, but that you've been noticed on the level of the Dallas Cowboys. So we are excited to honor you tonight, and we welcome you to come receive an award from our board member and Dr. Smith this evening. Please welcome Mr. Adrian Contreras.
So a couple of things real quickly. Is that your little brother with you too? Yeah. I love the fact that you got matching shirts on, and I saw him beaming ear to ear and then pointing at you a little bit here. But again, one of the things that impressed me the most in all of this is just your work ethic and your commitment to doing great things at your school and on the football team. So not only are you excelling in the classroom, but you're putting your effort in outside the classroom as well. So thank you for being a great representative of Arlington ISD. We're rooting for you to go to the Super Bowl, and we're also rooting for you to earn that $25,000 scholarship, which sounds really great too. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. McMurrow now.
Congratulations, Adrian. And I love that your own fans came out to celebrate you tonight. And no matter what happens with the Super Bowl and the finals and you being the top dog, we are very proud of you. And we all know who the real winner is. Congratulations. So not only will we be watching the Super Bowl, but the announcement will happen during the Super Bowl. So make sure that you've got your popcorn and your Seguin gear so that we can cheer loudly for you. And we will all be so proud of you. We hope to be able to follow you, though. Remember, we'll be your personal fan favorites. So we'll be at the Super Bowl with you, too, hopefully when you're named top 8. Thank you so much. Tonight is part of our tradition to honor a community member, a community nonprofit that supports our district. And so this year we've taken the opportunity to make sure that we highlight those 4 times a year, which means that we will this year celebrate 4 different nonprofits that make an impact in our district. I'm happy to welcome you all to watch the screens and learn more about this first winner of our 2025-26 school year, New Day.
New Day Arlington has been a nonprofit since 2012 with the mission to provide food bags to children who attend Arlington ISD schools. During the 2024-2025 school year, New Day provided 28,501 bags of food across 40 campuses. This effort is powered by volunteers from Grace Presbyterian Church, Church of the Good Shepherd, Trinity United Methodist, St. John the Apostle Church, and Westminster Presbyterian Church.
New Day Arlington provides weekend food for hungry students from Arlington Independent School District. Now we have someone who orders the food, someone who picks up the food, someone who stacks it on the shelves, and then there are people who come in every week to pack the bags.
You've got a bagger behind me. She's making sure we're ready, and we probably deliver 275 to 300 bags a week. We have delivery people to go to the different schools, some on Wednesday, some on Thursday.
Counselors will contact the kids, and the kids take the food bags home so that they'll have something to eat on the weekends.
Our families and our parents come in and they ask for help or for resources. So we offer them the weekend food bags, and it's really unexpected and appreciated. And because of New Day, we are able to provide that service to our students and our families.
We separate ourselves from the kids. We don't know who they are, but we do have a few stories that trickle back to us. The one that particularly touches me, I take 5 bags to a high school. It's not the counselor who handles it. It's somebody who deals with these 5 kids. The second time I took the bags of food, she met me in the office, grabbed me by the shoulders, and said, "You don't know how much this means to the kids." That's part of why I do it.
We're helping and making a little bit of a difference to some of the kids that need our help.
I'd like to invite our Executive Director of Family and Community Engagement, Mr. Aaron Perales, to share with us about New Day and why they were selected tonight.
All right, President Chapa, members of the board, Dr. Smith. It is just a joy to be able to work with all of our community organizations that support our students and families and staff every single day. But I'm not sure if you caught from the video, but since 2012, and that's a steadfast support to support students in need. And if you think about the organization of New Day, they're an excellent example of how Arlington comes together, because I hope you caught that from the video. It's 5 churches that have come together with a common heart, and you saw the work that is led by that heart for our students. And so at this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Earlene Pike, who is a member of the Executive Board of New Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the Arlington ISD School Board for this prestigious honor. You are honoring our mission, and we feed kids. Thank you from the Board of Directors. Thank you from our 5 church packing sites. And thank you especially from our over 150 volunteers who arrange weekend food to go to almost 1,200 Arlington students each week, 33 weeks a year. Sincerely, we thank you for this honor, for your honor for our mission. We expect to continue this from now on because there are kids out there who are hungry. Thank you.
So, Ms. Pike, don't go anywhere. We want to make sure that we recognize you. So come on up here. Not only are you did I get it right, the secretary of the board of directors? I think you're a movie star now, too, because I imagine that's going to be out and about. But one of the most important things to us in Arlington ISD is it's all about the kids. And we're doing everything we can each and every day to ensure that we're supporting the students. But what a lot of people don't realize is it truly takes community to support some of our families. There are things that we as a school district just can't do. And we are so grateful for your community partnership for the benefit of our students, because we know we do have students who are experiencing hunger, and we do have students who are experiencing some food shortage in their homes. And so thank you for what you do in making sure that our students are taken care of and partnering with the school district to do amazing things for students. We're greatly appreciative of your work.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. I'm always a proud member of Westminster Presbyterian Church, but I'm especially proud of the work that New Day does at all 5 churches. And you, all of the volunteers, you guys literally, you provide our students with nourishment that they need in order to be successful at school and in all facets of life. So thank you for all of the heart work that you all do. And thank you for saying we're going to keep going, because we need you. Thank you, Ms. Erling. Thank you. Congratulations.
This concludes tonight's honors and recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Northington. We will now take a brief recess to celebrate those who received recognition tonight. I'm going to invite the trustees and our honorees to join us for photos. We'll be taking them out in the lobby. We'll be taking some down here. If you would like to go ahead and line up, if you'd like your photo taken, line up on my left, your right side of the boardroom. Trustees, let's aim to be back in, we'll just say 10-ish minutes. The time is now 7:49 p.m. and we are in recess. All right, it is 8:01 and we are back from recess. The next portion of our meeting is the open forum for agenda items. Ms. Crossno, do we have any speakers registered for open forum?
President Chapa, we do have speakers registered for non-agenda items.
For non-agenda, and I am exercising my discretion tonight to move those folks from non-agenda up to this portion of our evening so they don't have to sit through the rest of our meeting if they do not wish to. I have 3 speakers registered on the list tonight. The first speaker will be Dr. Lisa Lee Egbert. And I understand, Ms. Egbert, that you have requested additional time to speak.
Yes, so that we can utilize an interpreter.
That is absolutely okay. So, Ms. Egbert, I will let you.
Do you have a timer?
I'll give you a 1-minute warning. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Wow, all right. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Lisa Lee Egbert. I've been appointed by the governor of the state of Texas at the oldest public school in Texas. I sit where y'all sit right now on the board. I'm a professor at UTA, and I'm an expert in ASL and deaf studies. I'm not coming here lightly. I'm here because I want to make a difference. And I want to make an impact, and I believe in public schools. This summer, my husband and I got custody of our 2 nephews. We tried to register one in high school for 5 weeks. We tried. We called your office, called the school, we contacted the school, we left messages, we sent emails. Sometimes we get an email back, maybe. Often, we left messages, we got nothing back. If I got a hold of a person, they'd say, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. We were assigned a person, and that person was often not available. So there wasn't a person, they were the only person there that could make the decisions, and we couldn't reach them. I understand there's a database for transfer students. Arlington got the wrong information from the old district, so the old district called Arlington, and Arlington did not call them. It took 5 weeks to register my nephews, and that's just not acceptable. I know how to work the system. I know a lot of parents don't know how the system works, but that's not okay. I wanted y'all to accept my kid. My younger nephew is hard of hearing. I'm obviously deaf. I requested interpreters throughout the elementary schools for all the different meetings. Many times, again and again, they did not show up. I still don't trust that an interpreter will show up for me. If the interpreter shows up, they're not certified, and you hire one of the worst interpreting agencies in the DFW area. It's just the cheapest for the interpreters, for ASL interpreters. I don't know about the spoken language, but for interpreters, they're not certified. They can't match my register. They can't interpret for me. I have to voice for myself because I don't have confidence in their skills. Your deaf ed teachers cannot communicate with me. They can't have a simple conversation because their science skills are so bad. I know we hire people, but for me as a parent, and I'm asking for support, and you can't give me the support, what does that say for other parents? We need to change the system, and it starts here with you guys. Listening to me. I hope you heed this conversation and make a system change for all 3 of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edbert. Next, we have Emily Wingard. Ms. Wingard, as you walk down, I'm just going to go through some of the rules I didn't get in there at the beginning. So this is a routine part of the board's agenda for regularly scheduled meetings, and this segment of the meeting provides citizens with an opportunity to share their views with the trustees on items that are not on the agenda tonight. Not intended to be a discussion or debate, and trustees will not reply to speakers. Derogatory comments aimed at an individual will not be tolerated, and personnel matters are not appropriate subjects for open forum. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and when Ms. Crossnow notifies you that your time is up, please end your presentation. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Emily, and my daughter Matilda is a deaf pre-K student in the district. I myself grew up in Arlington and went through all of Arlington ISD's schools. Imagine having your child be born deaf or with any differences and spending 3 years doing everything humanly possible for them to succeed, to help them, to understand them. Every therapy, every appointment, every phone call, meeting, researching, learning a new language, meeting and learning from others in that community, joining every online group available, trial and error with devices, documenting progress, sharing that progress repeatedly with every provider and relative, coordinating with insurance, coordinating with the school district. All along the way, being pounded with how critical these early years are. Repeatedly hearing doctors and trained professionals stress to you how important and absolutely necessary each of these things are every step of the way. Only to send that child off into the hands of the school district and have them tell you that all of those things suddenly aren't necessary anymore. She's not eligible. She's not ready. We don't have any data that supports that. Speech? Nah, she doesn't need it. Auditory verbal therapy? Ignored. Occupational therapy? Forget about it. Literally, it was forgotten about. Time in general education? She gets recess and lunch at a separate table for deaf students. Interpreter? Too young. Well, what about this? I'm new. That? She's new. This? We've never done that before. What? Give us grace. Notes on her progress, at least, documentation, data, can't find it. A new school? Only if you opt out of our glorious special education services. A new district? Can't. We have a program for her here. Can we at least know what she needs to be doing in order to be ready to join her peers and siblings in general education? Not sure. Never been done. As a 5th grade teacher, myself, I know parent involvement is huge. I ask you if this is how Arlington treats a child whose parents did everything right, everything they were asked and told to do. What chance does any child have? This is not just about services. This is about dignity. This is about rights, and my daughter deserves both. They all deserve better. Because what has happened to Matilda is not just a set of mistakes, it reflects a deeper problem. It reflects a deeper problem with how you as a district think about disability, equity, and accountability. The district cannot continue to fail children and ask parents to trust them anyways. The question is simple. Will you allow this culture of denial and delay to stand, or will you finally hold it accountable? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wingard. Our next speaker tonight is Nick Comerford. Mr. Comerford, you'll have 3 minutes as well. You may begin.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nick Comerford. I'm here tonight as a parent of a preschool child in this district's deaf education program. You obviously just met my wife, Emily. I want to talk to you about some very basic things. My right as a parent to see my child's education records. This is not a privilege. It's not a legal right. And it's essential if parents are going to be participating meaningfully in the child's education. For months now, we've been asking for the same simple thing, all of our daughter's records, her assessments, the details that make up the progress, monitoring her data. You know, where do these percentages come from? The very documents that the district itself cites in every IEP meeting when they tell us no. When we ask for changes or additional services, the response is always the same. The data doesn't support it. The data shows that she's not ready. Okay, can we see the data? We asked campus admin, oh, we can't locate her file. Well, what about this exact document that the state has required? Oh, we have that, but it's copyrighted, and the back and forth continues for months. So then we tried a more legal direct route through the district admin. We made an open records request and a FERPA request. Open records, well, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars because it's going to take us 120 hours to prepare for you. Sorry, can you break that price down a little bit? Is that based off how many records were found, or, what's that based off of? Oh, we can't offer legal advice. Now keep in mind, my child's only 4.5 years old. Now FERPA, we received less than 20 documents. Hey, sorry, there's a lot of files missing here. I counted 18 on our last IEP that weren't included. How about those? Oh, they're copyrighted too. While copyright may affect the manner of access, it does not eliminate my right to inspect or even be notified of their existence, nor does it get to just be omitted entirely. The constant obstruction, delays, and mental gymnastics I've been put through in trying to obtain these records only compound the very issues that led me to make these requests in the first place. We went this route after experiencing this exact scenario on a campus level. Unfortunately, this deception and obstruction has created more distrust than when we started. So where is the data? Why can't you send it to me? Why is it this hard? Where are the records? Do they exist? Is there something you don't want us to see? Are there so many that it'll take us 119 hours to go through them and then send them to me? Or are there only a handful? I mean, how are families supposed to trust the district's decisions when information based on this is hidden from us? So, sorry, I guess that's all I got.
Thank you for coming tonight. All right, we have no further speakers registered this evening. We'll move now to the report portion of tonight's agenda. Item A for reports tonight is a report from our governance committee chaired by Ms. Haynes. I'll turn it over to Ms. Haynes. It may take me a moment though, Ms. Haynes, because I have got to switch back my screen because all I see right now is Ms. Richardson.
Are we?
Okay, you're on now.
Am I good?
You're good.
Okay, thank you. So our governance committee, that's comprised of myself, Vice President McMurrow, and Secretary Richardson met not this past Monday, but the Monday before that. Feels like it was a really long time ago. We started off the meeting by discussing some local policies here in Arlington. We are in the process of going through our policies and just starting the preliminary stages of potentially looking at tweaking some of them, reworking some of them. We also are in the preliminary stages of brainstorming a draft of our interim legislative agenda, so very early stages of that. And then we had a consultation call with David Anderson, our partner from Hillco, to discuss the status of implementing legislation that passed in the recent session. So all very preliminary things that were done, gearing us up for some work that is coming in the coming months at our meetings. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. We'll now move on to report item B. It's a priority update and on our priority for academic growth, and this one will focus on AP participation and performance. I'll turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Yes, I would like to welcome Dr. Wirtz up tonight, and he's going to be joined by Dr. Karen Zeski and Dr. TJ Jarko from various departments in our system. One of the priorities that you've had as a Board of Trustees is that we talk about academic growth, and one of the things that we wanted to hone in on is specifically our AP students, how they're performing and how we're continuing to expand access for our AP students to these. So I'll turn it over to Stephen from there.
All right. Good evening, President Chapa, members of the board, Dr. Smith. Over the last year, we've been working diligently to try to enhance the opportunities of our students who are participating in advanced placement program, which provides them not only opportunities to engage in rigorous college instruction that's at the level of a freshman student that's in college, but also to acquire scores that would allow them to enter college with credit already on the books. So tonight, we have Dr. Karen Zeski, our Director of Advanced Academics, and then Dr. TJ Jarko from the Office of School Leadership to share some good news about the progress and gains that we've made over the last year with respect to student outcomes in the AP program. So I'll turn it over to Karen.
Good evening, President Chapa, board members, and Dr. Smith.
I'm proud to be here this evening to talk about our improved performance in AP, both participation and the performance of that. We're going to talk a little bit about where we have been, where we are going, at where we are now, and where we are going, basically, through this process. And this, of course, supports our DIP goal number 1, performance level 5, in helping to increase our CCMR outcomes through AP participation and scores. And so Dr. Jarko is going to share some of that specific data with you.
Thank you, Dr. Zeski. Good evening, Board President Chapa, members of the board, Dr. Smith. My pleasure to talk about the data that we have and the improvement story that we have. It's really related to our student experience in the classroom, especially our AP classrooms, and we know that we're on a pretty good trajectory, so that's always exciting for our kids. As we look at some of the data up here real quick, what we know is that our AP classes are always going to provide a rigorous experience, and that rigorous experience is yielding some really good outcomes for our young men and women. So what you're looking at here is data both on participation and also on performance. What we know is that our participation is growing by about 8% since 2018. So we have 8% more kids testing, which is outstanding. And at the same time, we have about a 38% growth in scores of 3 or higher. So not only is our participation improving, but our performance is improving at an even faster rate, which is very, very good. A 3, 4, or 5 in our AP test is obviously a score where a kid is showing that they have the ability to be successful in college, and then more importantly, getting college credit. So the number of 3s, 4s, and 5s we had is leading to somewhere around the neighborhood of $300 or $3 million, I should say. Sorry about that, in college credit and so on, which is very exciting. Just another way to look at that data real quick, you're going to see up here that in 2021, you've got a group of students that they're enrolled in AP, but you're almost you've got that bigger group there in 2025 in the light blue. That's representing the enrollment, and then you've also got the students scoring a 3, 4, and 5, and again, that number is doubling. The important part of this slide is that's the percentage of the total number of students in a school. So not every kid obviously takes an AP class, but we know that we're at a point right now where about 25%, if you key into the 2025 data, are taking an AP class. That's 1 of every 4 students. And then you can also see that the percentage of success has continued to increase across the board in terms of the number of tests that are passed. The bar graphs, the orange shows the trend line on the AP growth in terms of the number of students who are participating. And then what is showing up there, it looks like on my screen a green line, maybe on yours a blue, is going to be the percent of growth for our 3s, 4s, and 5s. So with that being said, I'll turn it back over to Karen. She's going to talk to you through the data, and she's also going to talk to you about how we got here and the story of how we got there as well.
So this slide that we have here, again, I want to remind you, is all students in Arlington ISD. The first slide of data was about AP students only, and this is about all students in Arlington ISD. And so what we have here when we look at the next slide is a great picture about where our students land by the time they leave Arlington ISD. What we have here is, first of all, an explanation of those AP scores. Really, an AP score of 1 really is no recommendation for where the student lies in their readiness. These courses are basically freshman level college courses, and for a student to earn a 2 means they're possibly qualified, but a 3 says they are qualified. In other words, we have mastered freshman level material in that AP course. 4 is very well qualified and 5 is extremely well qualified. And what this chart shows is that in the graduating class of 2025, we had 23% of our students walk across the stage with at least 1, 3, 4, or 5. So that's college credit. It's helping them see that they are ready for the next step. They're ready for college. That is very similar to what is the rate for the state of Texas and the United States as well. So about 25 or so, 23% of our graduates walk across the stage with a 3, 4, or 5. We know, of course, we in Arlington offer many other areas for college credit and opportunity, so this is just one part of it, but that is a pretty significant number. What the other numbers show is how many students in the 10th grade across the board, not just AP students, but of all 10th grade students earned a 3, 4, or 5 last year in May of 2025, 12%. 18% of 11th graders earned a 3, 4, or 5, and 15% of 12th graders. And so this chart really, if you're looking at growth and opportunity and accessibility for our students, this is about every student in our system, and almost 25% of our students are earning college credit before they leave us through the AP program. And so this really shows us exactly how that works. And just for a little bit of other context, you don't earn a qualifying score by earning a 90, right? And one thing that's really important is we understand that this, again, is freshman college work for high school students starting in 9th grade, some 8th grade for AP Spanish, and then they work through that system. And if you earn about a 60% correct in the multiple choice arena and about 60% in the free response, you're going to get that 3. And then obviously as you work up the scale, you're going to earn a little bit higher score there. And so really our goal is to have fewer 1s, more 3s, 4s, and 5s, and to help our students, especially in 9th, 10th grade, move up to the next level of accomplishment while they're with us. And so that's why you see a little bit of that 12%, 18%, and 15%, but by the time they leave us, we're earning credit at 23% at this time. So how did we get there? Basically, 3 different focuses. We really worked hard on recruiting AP students. We really believe in open enrollment. If you have an interest in an AP course and you're willing to do the work, you can take AP in Arlington ISD. The teachers and students help with that recruitment. We have AP ambassadors on campuses, some of whom are here this evening. And we have really an effort to go and find students. And we'll talk a little bit about the fine-tuning of that. We really are working hard to retain students in AP courses. We are embedding AVID strategies into AP classes, encouraging students to stick it out. We have obviously had some improved performance, and part of that is through having an AP Common Assessment, a district-level AP PLC, and an overall culture of data analysis. And that's pretty new to our process in the last 2 or 3 years. But all of this is supported by our partnerships and systems of support that have been created by district, campus, administrators, teachers, families, and students. And so they're supporting all of these efforts across the board. So what's next? So that's what we've been doing, okay? And so what's next? We're going to keep on the same pathway. We're going to work through, again, implementing some recruiting supports and some retention supports. We're in year 2 of our pre-AP plan. We have collaborated with curriculum and instruction and campus advanced academics coordinators to work on building skills in the pre-AP program so that students are confident and able to manage the AP, the rigor of the AP courses. We're continuing to grow some collaboration between advanced academics and AVID. AVID's a program that is intended to support four-year college readiness with our students, and we're continuing to maintain a strong culture and communication around retaining students, building those pathways using PSAT data to recruit students through AP Potential, and we're really looking to work with those freshmen and those sophomores who earn a 2 on the first exam and talk to them about that score. And remember, that means possibly qualified. And so work with them so that they are moving on to a 3 as we work through that system. We have campus advanced academics coordinators that are building really strong systems around identifying those students and encouraging those students to hang in there when things get really tough. Last year in particular, we identified 5 high-need areas for AP courses. Either there are very large numbers of students or we noticed they needed some extra support. We had some very targeted support for those subjects, and because of that and some other efforts like PLCs and collaboration and vertical and horizontal alignment, we had an increase of 15.5% in those 5 courses in particular. So we've seen that that is something that works really, really well. Dr. Jarko is going to talk a little bit about the CCMR committees and the other ways that we have worked through this successfully. We also are working on professional learning deliberately targeted to support pre-AP and AP teachers around the shared principles that you can see on the screen there. That's what the pre-AP program is based upon, and continue to have really high-level PLC collaboration through the district. And so those are some of the things that we've worked on, and we're going to continue the next steps on those in the coming year.
So Karen discussed a little bit about that PL, and I think it's extremely important. We know that when teachers or educators are building capacity, that's going to help our students in the long run improve the learning experience. And we feel, especially at the district level with the CCMR committees that we put in place, what those committees look like is there's representation from every single campus at high school, the traditional campuses. And the representation is the advanced academic coordinator, the assistant principal, and also members from transformational learning, such as counselors and so on. So you've got a campus team there. You've got 6 of those teams. We established that 3 or 4 years ago. And what it really gets at is it gets to the point where our staff are starting to talk a common language. At our last PLC meeting just a couple weeks ago, as we meet monthly, Jared Zahn leads those. You would walk into the room and there's so much energy in the room just talking about kids before the meeting even starts that's hard to get the meeting started. And that's a good problem to have, obviously. So those district teams have helped us, with our CCMR work, and AP is a part of that CCMR work. We want kids to earn their college point through advanced placement and through rigorous ways to earn that placement where they get college credit. So anytime we're making that increase and having folks speak that common language, it's definitely beneficial for our campus. So those campus teams are also there as well. So those 3 members I just mentioned will go ahead and be on the campus team. They have been. They write campus plans each year, and they try to focus on a narrowed focus of a way that they can improve their data, such as possibly at some campuses, those 5 courses that Karen mentioned that we have high enrollment in. And that work then also obviously impacts our teachers, and you have that through line all the way down to our students and families. So again, that power of speaking a common language is super important. And we have some people that help us in speaking that common language. So as Karen mentioned earlier, we have a few people here we're going to recognize, and that's our AP ambassadors from Lamar High School. We know that our best marketing plan for AP is our students. If our students are successful and they talk to other students, we're going to get more students enrolled and we're going to have more success. So right now, I'd like to go ahead and have those AP ambassadors, specifically from Lamar High School, I think they're back here behind me, stand up and we'll recognize them. And we also want to finish off our presentation with a couple other stories, real quick, short stories from 2 specific individuals, just to get you an idea of this partnership theme that's going through here. So we're going to invite Michelle Heath and also Katie Blanchard up to the dais. I think the main theme here is going to be growth and persistence is what you're going to hear from both these 2 talented educators. So I'll invite them up. They're going to share some quick stories about our work.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Smith. Thank you very much for the time this evening. Last year, Seguin's AP program saw a 7% increase in performance, which is huge for us, and it was no accident. This growth is the result of 3 powerful forces coming together: engaged students, committed teachers, and a culture that values doing hard things. Students stepped up, not just by enrolling in AP courses, but by embracing the challenge. They learned how to push through difficulty, manage their time, and think critically. Skills that will serve them far beyond any classroom. Further evidence of this willingness to embrace the challenge is the fact that Seguin has seen an increase in student enrollment courses again this year. We're very excited about where we're going with our students and our recruitment and our retention. So what's leading this increase in enrollment? Well, in part, it's because we've chosen to invest in our educators. Through structured PLCs, targeted training, and ongoing support, our teachers are better equipped to engage our students, differentiate instruction, and bring rigorous content to the classroom. This 7% isn't just a number. It's a reflection of a learning community that believes in growth, grit, and going above and beyond. And we're just getting started. Thank you.
Dr. Smith, President Chapa, members of the board, thank you for the time to highlight this program tonight. I feel very lucky to be a part of the AP program in AISD right now. Growth has become the name of the game in the best way possible. We've seen that at Martin through a steady increase in performance and participation over the last several years. This past year, we gave nearly 3,000 tests to over 1,300 kids, and we had 71% of those kids get a 3, 4, or 5. But the growth isn't just in the numbers. It is also seen in how our schools are looking to bring in new learners through the addition of classes like mine, which is AP Seminar, classes that speak to different kinds of learning, different areas of interest, and different ways of being challenged. Schools are also growing in the way that they are approaching the AP program in general. At Martin, we're focusing on increasing our levels of communication and collaboration, both within and between content areas. Something that has really allowed us to think about and problem solve ways to better support our students from the ground up and help them find success. I work with an amazing group of teachers, all 6 of us do. Every day they are in their classrooms, challenging the kids and performing small miracles as they convince teenagers that they can also learn and grow.
This presentation is about supporting a quality learning experience for AISD students. All of the participants, all of the people that have this common goal of creating that wonderful experience for our students have really focused on making this an AP program, not just a list of AP courses. We've been really working on our AP culture. We have been trying to invite students, and then once they're in the door, invite them to stay by making them successful, making them feel like I can do this. We've really focused on the professional learning, and all of us in administrative roles are learning right alongside our AP teachers and our pre-AP teachers. The vertical and horizontal collaboration has increased significantly during our last professional learning day. That is one of the first things that one of the AP teachers said to me is, I don't know how long it's been or if we've ever had horizontal alignment within our building to figure out how to help our students be ready. And so those days that are providing that time for our teachers to be, working with others and making sure our students are heading in the right place. And a focus on pre-AP and AP for each student. It's not the same formula for all students. Each student needs different kinds of support. The AP program champions mentioned here tonight will continue on this journey of inclusion and improvement to provide opportunities for students and families. It's about giving them courage, confidence. It's great if they get some college credit, but certainly we all know if you participate in the AP program and you sit for the exam, you're going to do much better in your four-year college GPA arena and in your matriculation and finishing in 4 years or less. And so we are making an investment in our children for today, but for their future as well. So thank you for allowing us to share this journey and the continued work that we're going to pursue for this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zeski, Dr. Jarko. I would like to give the AP ambassadors an opportunity to introduce themselves, and if y'all have anything to add on or share, I'd like to give it to you.
Good evening, I'm Rakshani Wickramatulika, and I'm Vice President of AP Ambassadors at Lamar High School.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. I'm Hannah Chambers. I'm a junior at Lamar High School, and I'm the Secretary of our AP Ambassador Program.
Good evening, Board. My name is Michael Howard, and I am the Treasurer of AP Ambassadors at Lamar High School.
The reason we started AP Ambassadors is because we realized how much AP means to at least us, because we find so much value within them. Being able to acquire college credit in high school for $15 for an AP test versus thousands of dollars for taking a college course in college. We found the value in that, and we wanted to share that with other students at Lamar, and being able to do things such as stick with it speeches and going to class, convincing kids I understand that AP tests can be hard and these classes are difficult because of them being college level courses, but also the value of how much you can actually gain within taking those courses. I've taken 8 AP classes so far, and I'm gonna be graduating having taken at least 13. And so I know I've at least passed all of mine, but I understand I've seen my friends struggle, and even then we realize like being able to get at least like a 2, especially your sophomore freshman year, it's like, whoa, you just did a college course. Like, we find so much pride in being able to say like, oh, our kids are doing that. And we did a thing like at our last meeting, making little goodie bags to congratulate those kids who got 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, because that's something they should be rewarded on, because that is honestly such a great accomplishment. Would you like to say?
I'd also like to add that we value AP courses a lot at Lamar too, not just for our high achieving academic students, but also those students who don't really know what kind of level of academic they want. We want to encourage students who have never tried an advanced or AP course as well to kind of get into that feel and understand what it's like to kind of take on the challenge of a college course, because it not only teaches you how rigorous academics there will be, but also real-world skills like time management, work ethic, and keeping a positive attitude as well. So I think AP classes are not just good for your record, but I feel like they're also a very important part of our development as human beings and further ready for college and career readiness as we go on in our lives. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to provide us with that.
I would just like to state that sometimes kids are scared for taking these AP classes because they're like, oh, AP classes are for all smart kids. I probably couldn't do that. I probably couldn't even pass the class in general. But I think that if they just put their mind to it, and I think sometimes they seem a lot more scary than they are, because sometimes the AP classes turn out to just be really simple classes. So I think if they just get over the fear of thinking that, oh, I can't do this, they're in the can't mindset, they just have to switch their mindset to, oh, maybe I could do this, maybe I could pass this class, maybe I could pass this AP test, maybe I could get this college credit. I think switching the mindset is really important for that. And so I think if we just encourage those kids that, oh, you could do this, I think you could pass this AP class, I think we just have to encourage those kids and like be willing to like encourage them to not only like try the AP class, but like try and take the AP test, just do their best in that class. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Dr. Zeski, you're back up.
Yes, I would like to thank Abby Rosenthal, who is the Advanced Academics Coordinator at Lamar, and Ms. Maroney for being here to support their students. We also have Christine Boudelier. Christine, did I say it correctly?
No, Boudelier.
Boudelier. I just have to look it up on the email every time I want to spell it correctly, from Arlington High School. So we have 4 of our advanced academics coordinators here supporting and being here, and they are just such a large part of the success, along with Mary Morris, our specialist in advanced academics, who's really the boots on the ground, and they've all just put their efforts together for this growth. And so I'm very glad to present that along with Dr. Jarko in our partnership with all of the entities that have gotten us here today, and I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Zeski. You're in good company. I made the mistake of mispronouncing Ms. Boudelier's last name last year. I will never do it again.
Well, I probably will, but I'll apologize profusely.
All right, first up tonight from the trustees, we have Mr. Wilbanks.
Thank you, President Chapa, and thank you, Dr. Zeski, and everyone here. This was a very informative report. I just have a couple of questions for you, Dr. Zeski. If you could go to the slide on where you showed all the grades and the percent of greater than or equal to 3 on the test.
Yes.
My question is, you showed 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, but if I recall correctly, we do have a number of students taking AP level courses in 9th grade.
Yes.
Are they scoring similarly, or
This is a report I get directly from College Board, and I don't know, I think they're similar in what they do, but it's a small, no, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit less, because there's really only one course you can take in 9th grade, and that's AP Human Geography.
Yeah,
and in 10th grade, you for sure have 2 or 3 others that you can take, and so it's going to be a little bit smaller percentage, and that's probably why it's not reported, because it would seem much smaller, but it's because there's less opportunity. And again, remember, it's the percentage of all students in ninth grade. So it might show up much smaller.
Probably pretty low. And I think
Yes.
at Lamar, I know there were a few students who probably took the AP biology as a freshman. No? No? Okay. The next question I had was on the student success initiatives. You know, that's critical, I think. And that's the missing link, especially when you're dealing with first-generation students whose parents may not have gone to college. Can you dive a little deeper into what specific student success initiatives you have found successful and other things you guys are planning on trying?
Absolutely. One of the things we found is that many students, although they had the desire, they didn't have the preparation to handle the more rigorous coursework. And so that's the reason for the inclusion of pre-AP and focusing on the skills from pre-AP that are going to help them. And so that is one of the things that we're working on is layering in much more specific, focused pre-AP curriculum that's going to help them with those areas that they need for AP. The second thing that we are doing is we are making sure that if a student is taking on the risk, that we have a pathway of support. We are talking about the teachers and the counselors being very in tune the first 2 or 3 weeks with those students. If a student goes to the counselor and says, I want to be out of this class, we have a process on every campus where they're asked to talk to the teacher. If they're in an AVID class, we try to work with it between the AVID teacher and the AP teacher to support the student, and we have a process where we encourage and support the students for at least an entire 6 weeks, because if it's so foreign to them and their experience, sometimes I think right away, oh my goodness, I can't do this. And so we want them to stay in the course for the entire 6 weeks with the supports of the tutoring, the scaffolding that we're doing in the classroom to help them reach that skill. We are deliberately teaching some skills within the class to help them. If they come in not being very good with the note-taking process, we're helping them with that. And so there's a really deliberate process of looking and trying to make sure that all the people that should be involved in a decision about whether you're going to stick with AP or not are in the conversation. So the students, the teachers, the counselors, and the families, and making sure that, you know, we actually have a contract that the counselor, the teacher, the student, the parent are all involved in, because if you show up at the counselor's office and say, this is just too hard for me, then our question is, well, what have we done so far for success? Have you talked to your teacher? And then, you know, the teacher will, you know, then the counselor will let the teacher know, or the advanced academics coordinator will let the teacher know, and they'll work together to support that student. I actually had somebody 2 years ago, an AP teacher said, you know, we're getting some English language learners in our classes. What can we do? And we literally got together with world language folks and came up with some strategies. I showed up with some strategies for that with that teacher, and then connected her. And that teacher ended up doing a professional learning during district-wide day the following August to support the second language learners that are in our classes. So we are trying to create a system where nobody gets lost, and they don't just simply say, I don't want to do this anymore, without having a conversation with several adults, not just one adult.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know TCC is a big partner of ours, especially on the dual credit with early college high schools. And I always hold TCC up as an exemplar when it comes to student support for their students in those advanced classes. They do a phenomenal job. And have we been able to kind of cross-pollinate with them and kind of share ideas that might work in a high school setting that they do? Like, for instance, they have a program where former students in a class, they bring in as student instructors and hold office hours once a week for students in a class. We've got this great ambassador group back there that if they want to earn extra community credit for their resume, I think that would be a good idea. Just spitballing here,
Yes.
But I think there's a lot of ideas like that we can share with a partner that we have right here in our backyard.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
But it's, I appreciate the effort. The numbers look great, and we like we all know we are chock full of extraordinary educators like the ones in this room that are really, really working hard to make sure all of our students are successful in I am very appreciative. I just had an opportunity to sit in a class at 6:30 this morning, bright and early, and heard some amazing stuff from some of our advanced academic students. So thank you for all the work you guys do.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Ms. Fowler.
Thank you, President Chapa. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's I've learned a lot. And I have a question, and I don't know if you're the one that might have this answer. I'm curious to know what percentage of students are in AP classes compared to the percentage of students that are in dual enrollment. Any idea?
No, but I can get that data for you, and it's actually a pretty complex answer because dual enrollment is one way we serve, but we also have our PTACs and our early colleges, and so it's a much more finessed response. But we definitely, I know, have a significantly higher number in AP courses than our dual enrollment, where in 11th and 12th grade they work through not an early college or a PTAC, but simply take the dual credit courses. It's a very much larger number.
That's incredible. And these are perfect examples of the type of students that are in those courses and going to be very, very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. Any other trustees with comments, questions tonight? I have just a couple of questions. One, which was not in your presentation, but I was just curious if you knew. We have the number of folks who graduated having earned college credit at least through AP, and that's at 23%. Do we have a perspective on how many of our graduates have at least some college credit by the time they leave us?
I don't have that because, again, it's that same complex answer that I gave Ms. Fowler, is that we have students who have college credit through the PTAC, through the dual credit.
Right.
I definitely can get that answer for you. I don't know that because that actually is through just post-secondary partnerships, and so I don't know that data quite as well as I do the AP data.
But if I'm going to guess, though, that the floor is 23%, right? Like, it can only be higher because we have so many other ways. And so if we're at the national average, state average, where we are right now with AP, I think that's a really good sign that we're doing well and making sure that some of our kids, a good chunk of our kids, come out of here with some college credit, which, being on the parental side of that, is soon, hopefully, we'll be experiencing some of the freeness of that tuition.
Yes.
That's the only other question I had is I know that you mentioned some stress with being an AP student, but I know as a former AP teacher myself for a short 1-year stint of glory, what supports do we have in place for teachers who do teach AP in advanced academics, or folks who are teaching who want to get into the place of teaching those types of courses to do the best job that they can for our students?
We pay for every AP teacher to go to an APSI, AP Summer Institute. It's a 4-day institute where they work on both content and pedagogy so that they're prepared for the class. If you remember, President Chapa, you really don't even learn AP really, really well in 1 year. It takes 2 or 3 years, but we send them that year, and then we have really, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, really focused on professional learning communities, because oftentimes those AP teachers are the only ones teaching the subject on the campus, and so we have worked hard to have the AP Bio teachers get together and the AP Lit teachers to get together, et cetera, so that they can talk about that. And we do it, we work through it with district-wide day, and much of what we've done in the past until this year, the support has been on their time and their choosing to be involved in PLCs after school. And so we usually have a launch on district-wide day. They choose their common assessments together, they work together, they look at the results afterwards together, and so they're going through a data-driven process in determining where our students are and really working on looking at measures before that May exam. That's one of the big shifts that we've made to support the teachers, is helping you get together with other people who teach what you teach. We're working on just-in-time PD to follow up that one APSI shot. If a teacher needs to go again after a year or two, we try to get them in there again, because many times when you go through the process process of drinking out of that fire hose the second year instead of just the first pass, it improves as well. And so we have the standard professional learning. We have really worked on the collaboration and the support both on the campus and across campuses, and we really have looked at which courses are the courses that need the most support, and we brought in specialized support for those teachers. And so we bring in some of those folks that do those APSIs in the summer and work with them in very small groups. We did that two years ago with calculus, and just the scores in calculus in 1 year were significantly higher in May 2024 after doing that. And then we brought that person in for a half day the following year and continued to grow our teachers. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing to try to give them the tools they need to be successful, because they are different from what all the other teachers need when you're talking about the grade level standards that our students need to meet. And so they need that extra support.
Thank you. That's all I have.
So I want to take a moment real quickly to thank Dr. Wertz, Dr. Jarko, and Dr. Zeski, and all the team here. I'm going to have some people probably roll their eyes at me too, but one of the things that I just wanted to highlight, there's a difference between finite games and infinite games in all of this, and I've been leaning into some language from Simon Sinek on this. The finite things that we get out of this are really important. The college credit, the freedom from some of those tuition burdens, all of those things matter, but probably equally important, or maybe even more important, is the infinite mindset that we heard from our students tonight. That idea that they can do something hard, that it's okay to work hard and figure things out along the way, and that the learning experience is more than just a score in the end. It's about that idea of learning and growth along the way. And when we hear our students talking about the mindset shift that they're working on, trying to communicate with their peers, that tells us something great is happening here. So thank you for helping get that created. Students, bravo, because that was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And AP ambassadors, thank you all for being here tonight. I know probably from experience that y'all have homework to do. So y'all are free to leave. You do not have to stay for the rest of it. You're more than welcome to. Our next item tonight on reports is item C. It is an update on our district priorities. This one is on safety and discipline, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Trustees, I'm going to invite Dr. Hill and Dr. Jarko up to give you an update along the way. Again, equally important in our school district is the context of safety, security, and discipline in our school system as well, and they'll give you a brief update this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, and to board and all that are gathered here. We're just going to kind of get right into this presentation. Dr. Jarko and I will be tag teaming on it, so we'll get right into it. And so, again, the purpose is to just give you a brief update on where we are with regard to student discipline and that whole part about the learning environment. We'll do two phases, one more of a lag or an after the fact with what's going on with the data, and then Dr. Jarko will share some of the lead as to what we're doing to kind of get on the front end of it. So just want to start with just recognition of the student services team who's behind the scenes working through all of the processes of all the student data and supporting assistant principals through that process. This graph here, on the left, you'll see a set of data from 24-25, which is an entire year of data. The data on the right and that graph shows just through, I think, September 15th of this year. I don't want you to get caught up in the numbers, but I really want to look at is the trend that is year to year that we see the peaks and valleys in student discipline. What we really tried to look at are those transition years, 6th to 7th grade, and then 8th to 9th grade, those transition years where we really see data peak, incidents peak, and that's what our preventative teams are trying to work through. This data here is year to date from August through September 15th of 25 and 26, and these are five of the cases or the areas where we really look to see where there's improvement. We really want to focus on classroom disruptions. 25, we had 142 across the system through that first 6 weeks. This year we had 107, so we see a decrease there. I call it significant, but there are minor decreases in all of these areas across what we were looking at. This is a threat assessment data. Again, this is through the first 6 weeks of each year, and you can see that there are some improvements in the number of threat assessments and the how they're ranked medium, minimal, low, and high, and then the total. What I really want to draw your attention to is that graph at the bottom where we're really focusing on identifying threats, assessing threats, developing controls, and then evaluating the response, and just that continuous improvement cycle to make sure that we are going beyond the consequence when those threats are there. Yes, the consequence is important, but more important, we think, is wrapping around services for those students who have demonstrated that need. To kind of partner with us in making sure that we're providing those services, here are some community partners that really lean in heavily with us to try to address student violence and threat assessments. Arlington Police Department, the school resource officers, their behavioral law enforcement unit, again, that's beyond the consequence. Youth and Family Services, MHMR, and this multi-systemic therapy, which is really groups going into the homes and working with the parents of these students under threat assessment protocol to try to address that at root cause and get, again, beyond the consequence. So at this point, Dr. Jarko is going to come and just kind of talk about what we're doing on the front end of this to try to prevent it. So.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, and good evening again, Board President Chapa, members of the board, Dr. Smith. So one of the important things that Dr. Hill talked about is the level of support from our student services team, but we also have support in conjunction with that team to our people that are closest to our students, and that is our teachers and also our campus professionals at the campus. So you might remember last spring we talked a little bit about the improvements we made. You heard from 3 or 4 different campuses in terms of the work that they're doing in terms of building capacity and this consistent theme of building capacity. We had a lot of success last year. We're continuing that success by making sure over the summer that we took feedback from teacher surveys. Number of referrals may not be the only place we're looking at as well, but also some of the stories that we have, and we're trying to continue those stories. So we looked at that data over the summer. We, as a team of 12 specialists that help support the schools to build capacity, and we looked at that data over the summer, and we came up with 3 priorities, and you can see those 3 priorities are listed up here. The first one was just strategically building capacity of our first-year teachers. And this is really important, y'all. In the past, we would work with our new teachers over the summer, and they would go their new teacher week like they always would in July. But we also know we have teachers that are hired in August, and they're hired in September, and they're hired in October and throughout the year. So the idea here is to go ahead and design cohorts to go ahead and help support those teachers in our district-wide PL days. I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a second. But what it helps ensure is that all of our teachers have an opportunity, no matter when their hire date is, to go ahead and engage in professional learning that helps them set up their classrooms well, and again, goes back to having a really positive student experience. We're doing that work in a learning strand type setup, and it supplements campus support. The second piece we're working on is working on building our campus behavior support teams. These were also used to be known as PBIS teams. The idea here is we're empowering our campus staff, to utilize their roles at full effectiveness. That was our most recent PD. Moving forward here at the end of October and November, we're going to be jumping into working with those teams on how to deliver PD to adults so that they can build capacity on their own campuses. The idea here is that we have a through line from district level to campus level all the way to the student. It's a capacity building through line. And then last April, I also discussed with you guys and talked a little bit about the 77 campuses all have a behavior support action plan. The importance of this is that they're differentiated. So we do the best we can with these 12 members that you're going to see a picture of in a second to say yes as often as we possibly can. So what they're doing is they're sitting down with principals, with the admin teams, looking at the data and working in conjunction with. Nothing's being done to them, but it's being done with them to determine what is the area that you want to work on at your campus and how do we work and help you to solve that problem and build capacity. You see a few examples up here. I'm going to go into one specifically, the in-school suspension system. I had the opportunity last week to be at Arlington High School. I got invited out by a behavior support specialist and also an AP, Vanessa Vasquez. They wanted me to see their ISS room because it was redesigned. I've been around for a while. I've seen a lot of ISS rooms, and when I tell you that I was super excited. I walked in, you see check in, check out. You saw a technology station where only, the teachers could clearly see the 2 computers. You saw students that were proud of the fact that they'd finished assignments, paper-based assignments, so that we could make sure the technology wasn't something to distract them. And you saw specifically 2 teachers, staff members, Isaac Campos and also Dr. Demira Duval, working one-on-one at their desk with kids just seamlessly and really beautifully. Kids would come up, get help, and the Tier 1 instruction gap was being filled. The three of us, Josh Church and Vanessa Vasquez and myself, stayed in that room to talk about their story for over 20 minutes, and not once did we get interrupted by one of the single 12 to 15 kids who were in that room. So it's just super exciting to see that, and that's one deep example of the support that we're trying to provide in conjunction with the campuses. So we have 12 specialists. We work specifically with adults. You see those pictures up here. They're an outstanding team. What I'm most proud of about this group is they've gelled really well. They meet every Wednesday on PLCs, and they're really starting to come together as a team. We know when we work as a team, we'll be a lot more impactful than if we weren't. So our milestones right now, we're supporting the system, and we feel like we're a part of that. We know we're one small piece of the puzzle, but our referrals, when you look at incidents that could be written last year compared to this year, are down. So that's a huge piece of a huge win. And then also our September PL. So what you're seeing over here on the right-hand side is a picture of our cohort 2 teachers. I talked to you about these. These are teachers who came in August all the way through September 12th, and here you're seeing a picture of those teachers on September 19th. They're receiving support. And they'll receive 3 more sessions at each of our PLs, being led by one of our specialists to help them make sure they have a successful school year in setting up their classroom. So we'll start our 3rd cohort coming up on October 10th, and it'll encompass the teachers that started between September 12th and October 2nd or 3rd, so somewhere in that month range will be that set of teachers. We also have been working to build our capacity on PBIS systems. We know we have Tier 2 support at all of our campuses, but we've started to ramp up our abilities to help support campuses with Tier 2 with things like responsive reentry, with check-in, check-out systems, and being able to just take the request. Like if a campus needs support with Tier 2, we're going to try to say yes and figure it out and go out and try to build capacity. We're building capacity around our Character Strong implementation. Again, we know students, anytime we can help support them with positive character, it's a huge win. And then again, that through line is super important. So the executive directors in the Office of School Leadership supervise coach, I should say, 2 behavior support members. That relationship has gotten really strong where the executive directors their capacities being built around behavior support, and the behavior support specialist capacities being built around coaching. When we get that right, and we can work on the campus to build adult support and capacity, then that ends up translating into the wins that we're starting to see at the campus level all the way back from last year and continuing into this year. So you might ask who and how we support. We already talked about new teachers, and we also talked about PBIS teams. We also support departments. So what you're seeing on the right-hand side in this picture is a group of specials teachers. On September 19th, we got a request to go ahead and support this group of teachers with behavior management. What's really cool about this story is that the 4 teachers that led this were specials teachers and was a trainer of the trainer model, so we help support them. We'll continue to help support them, and they're providing PD to people that do the same thing they do, which we know is a huge win. Anytime that you're getting trained by people that are having a similar spot and a similar role, you have a tendency for that training to be even better. Talked about the 2 tier 2 systems of support. One of the big ones we're focusing on down here in the left-hand corner is the responsive reentry. So what that means is once a kid gets in trouble, Tier 1 didn't work, what do we do in Tier 2 to go ahead and make sure that kid and the teacher have a mindset to support reintegration of that student and him coming back into the classroom. And then because of the behavior support plans, we also do a lot of standalone PD. If a campus requests it, again, we try to say yes. You can kind of see a district PL plan here. I'm not going to go into it in depth. It's constantly changing, ever evolving, hard to keep up with. But the main thing is we're trying to work with all these different groups of people. So for instance, school counselors, principals, if we can build capacity and we can get those people there, we're going to do the best we can as we go through our different PL plan. We're excited about the continued gains. We feel like we're off to a great start, the 25-26 school year, in supporting our campuses in conjunction with Michael's Student Services team. And with that being said, we're just excited about the continued impact that we can have on our students and their learning experience in the classroom.
Thank you, Dr. Jerko. Mr. Hill? Dr. Hill? Any trustees with comments or questions? Ms. Fowler?
Thank you, President Chapa. ISS is much different than I remember when I was in school. I never was in ISS, but
that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. But when I taught, I remember it was just you gathered up work and you took it down to a room, and basically they were told, sit down, be quiet, do your work. And whoever was in charge of ISS would have their magazine or newspaper or whatever. And I love hearing that even though they might have done something wrong and they got in trouble and they're separated from the class, they're not a bad kid and they still deserve to get help with their work. And I love hearing when you describe that the kids were gathered around the desk and they're getting help on their work, and then the fact that they went back to do their work and great manners to not interrupt. But I love the difference, how it was and how it is now. Because even though they're out of the classroom, they deserve that individual help. We don't want to see their grades go down and learning loss just because they had to be separated from their class. So I love hearing that.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. I appreciate it.
Ms. McMurrow.
Thank you, Dr. Hill and Dr. Jarko. I remember you guys talking about, I think a couple meetings ago, and then this meeting, about how every campus has their own behavior support action plan. And I love providing autonomy like that to campuses so that they can have an action plan for the unique needs of their students. But I also want to make sure as a trustee that every campus has access to the district supports that we have. So what access do we provide teachers if they want to solicit support from our district behavior support team?
Sure, I can answer that, Sarah. So teachers at their campus and the administrative staff can go ahead and fill out a support request, and that support request would go to us, and we would do the best we can to fill it. So communication, I think, is at the center of that answer, right? If our behavior support team members who are assigned campuses are in contact with their administration, constantly asking the right questions, supporting those new teachers, then we're getting in front of that before they even have to request it oftentimes, but they have that ability to request it from us in a formalized way, where we'll try to meet that support any which way we can.
Awesome. And do teachers have to go through their campus administrator just to put in that request, or can they request it directly?
I believe it's and again, I'd have to go through and check with each specialist. I know high school a little bit better because those are the ones I support, but yes, they can go ahead and request it through their administrator, and their administrator would go ahead and put in that support request.
Okay.
Maybe an opportunity there.
Yeah, and I'm asking because every survey we get, discipline, even though all of this is very promising, discipline continues to be the number one concern of staff and several stakeholders. And so I think the more we can increase access for that support, and the more awareness that everyone has on how to increase that access, or how to go about that, I think we could really bridge some gaps and some time lapse, because behaviors escalate. And the only other thing I was going to ask you, last night we actually hosted trustee talks, and several of the staff members who attended were describing how even down to the earliest elementary students, our smallest kids have big emotions. And I know that professional learning and a lot of systems are in place, but what do we do to ensure that we are tracking how we're supporting teachers and students? Like, let's say that there's a student who's consistently eloping. I know that that's a specific behavior that I hear about a lot, and it's almost as if there's an uptick. I don't have any data, but I hear about that a lot more than I used to, students eloping from the classroom. There might not always be an office referral, but how do we monitor the frequency of that and ensure that the support that we provide is what that student and that teacher need?
I think there's two ways to answer that, Ms. McGarrell. First, each campus has to have a champion for Tier 3 work. When we talk about elopers, we're talking about kids that are leaving from the classroom that fit into that Tier 3 piece. We have to pour into those people. When we have an eloper on campus, we have to have an expert that's willing to go ahead and go to that eloper and say, hey, we can address this, and also help support the teacher on what strategies they can use. I think the second way to answer that is at that point, when you get into that Tier 3, there's going to be a plan for that specific kid, which can be tracked, and we can know those numbers and so on, if that makes sense.
And our behavior support team, they work alongside the teachers now, right? They don't just tell the teachers what they need to do differently and then hope for the best. Do they still work side by side with the teachers?
Absolutely. Their goal is to have a continuous through line throughout a school year to build capacity with that teacher, not just in the PL days, but on a day-to-day basis. And they can speak to that work a little bit better than I can. Yeah. But as an example, in our PL sessions, we got a PDC, responsive reentry. You've got a full room, hundreds of people and teachers in that room working directly with our behavior support specialists to build capacity.
That's awesome, and that is much appreciated by the whole team. And this is all very promising. It just continues to be a major priority. So thank y'all so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. Ms. Haynes?
Thank you. So I don't have a
question, and I kind of went back and forth on even commenting because I'm hopeful that I know the answer to this. Piggybacking off what Trustee Fowler said, so you talked about the ISS situation at Arlington High, and that sounds like the ideal ISS situation. From personal experience with a child that did a small stint in ISS last year, and from comments from students and other families in our district, it doesn't sound like that's the norm across the district on campuses. So I am hoping that you went there to visit, to see it yourself, and to work to implement that sort of ISS experience for our students across the district.
I think that'd be accurate, Ms. Haynes.
Okay.
I think even at Martin High School, for instance, we're doing similar work, and our next step is to get counselors involved in that ISS process to help work on the character piece. So it's evolving. We're continuing to build it. We could have examples of junior high and elementary. It's not perfect, but it's continuing to improve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Any other trustees with comments or questions? I just wanted to point a couple things out. That building a little bit off of what Ms. Haynes said, she has some recent experience with ISS. I had some experience with ISS in junior high, and I just want to point out that the fact that a student might get disciplined at some point in their career doesn't mean that they're a bad kid or a bad student. And if you look at our trend lines, and I'm really at the data set, the trend line, you mentioned those are important. If you look at this trend line, and if you've ever interacted with kids, and as a parent, this trend line shouldn't be a surprise to you, because the elementary school kids, that it's just it's an elementary school vibe. School's still fun. They're still young. And then all of a sudden they become teenagers, and things change a little bit, and we get a little bit more angsty. And then by the time they become juniors, you maybe get, I'm just being flippant here, but maybe a little bit more, closure of the frontal lobe, and they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They're a bit more mature, and magically it drops again. This trend line matches adolescence. And so we're not unique. I would imagine this is the same for many other districts, but I also just want to compliment Dr. Smith, Dr. Hill, Dr. Jarko on our staff putting this data out here, because there's a lot of discussion about student discipline and how students behave at school and perceptions about what our schools are like. Not just us, but other public schools. And this board made it a priority to focus specifically on discipline and safety, and we're putting that out there in the forefront. But along with that commitment to make it a priority was a commitment to be transparent about it. And this continues what we have been doing several years now, over many presentations of we have put our discipline numbers out here to some extent, and we are being transparent about what's going on. And none of this, the trend line shouldn't be surprising. And I think the numbers speak very well. If you look at, as a parent who was at one time considering where to send my kids, I grew up in this district. I was a public school teacher. I wanted my kids to have the same experience for me, and that decision was maybe a bit easier than some others. But there was a lot of discussion from folks about how they perceived even our elementary schools as being maybe dangerous places to be, and they worried about discipline problems. But if you look at the numbers for the whole entire of last year, divided by the number of elementary school campuses, for example, and we're talking about, and I'm not great at math, but you're talking about 2 referrals at some camp, 2 referrals a month on average for some of these elementary grade levels. We're talking about hundreds of kids in a building, and kids will be kids, and discipline referrals can be anything from something somewhat minor to something somewhat serious. I think that the data actually shows that what we have known for a long time is that the perception about some of our campuses does not line up with reality on the ground. And so I want to commend Dr. Smith and our staff in this district for being transparent about putting this data out there, because we don't have anything to hide. I think some of the folks who would be most likely to benefit from or fuel that perception of us are folks usually who, at the places that they prefer, they don't provide this kind of data. There is no way to know. And so I'm just proud of the district and what we're doing. There's a lot of work to be done here. Don't get me wrong on this, but I think that this is both not surprising in the trend lines and validating what we have been talking about for a long time. So thank you.
Trustees, is I think Michael and TJ and all the people that have put effort into this. I think 3 things I hope you heard tonight. 1, we are absolutely working to be proactive and to be ahead of this so that we work with teachers to be able to address things. 2, in no way, shape, or form did you hear any consternation about teachers writing referrals. In fact, if they need to write a referral, we're good with it. And then the third thing, we're also going to follow up on with appropriate consequences when necessary. Sometimes those narratives get confusing out there. And I think we're about the training and support. We realize that sometimes students make mistakes. Sometimes consequences are appropriate, but it's about the learning and growth of the student. Get them back in the classroom so they can continue learning and growing. So I'm proud of the work that we're doing. And as President Chapa said, we've got more work to do, and we'll keep plugging away at it. So thank you all.
All right, that brings us to our next item, item D. We have a report on the beginning of year transportation experience. Dr. Hill.
All right. Get this pulled up here. Excuse me. So we'll get right into just some beginning of the year transportation opportunities. Again, we kind of look at year to year, and again, it's all about improving and getting better. And so we had some challenges last year that we owned, and we just kind of wanted to work through those and start afresh this year. This presentation, again, is intended to just give you an update on where we are with regard to the start of this school year. Do want to recognize the team. Jason Gillis, the director, is here, and we've got other team members that kind of help run that organization over there, and they are doing an exceptional job, in which you've already heard about some of it earlier, and then we're just going to remind you of that and see where we're going again. Through the operations department, while we don't have in many cases, we don't have a direct link to some of these, but this is the lens through which we do all of our work, and those 5 priorities that have been adopted by the district. We encourage the transportation department to find your entry point into these priorities for the district. Just a little bit about student ridership, regular education, and you'll see the numbers there. I won't read it, but regular ed all the way through special ed. I want to call attention to a couple of things that are unique to Arlington. Well, one unique to Arlington, and then the other one is just kind of out there, and that's the families in transition. When we have students that are experiencing homelessness or whatever, we're committed to getting them to school regardless where they are. We suburbans leave this district sometimes at 5:30 in the morning, getting kids to or from a school wherever they may live because of the McKinney-Vento Act. And then the other are the midday shuttles. We talked about TCC and some of those things in an advanced academics report earlier. We are moving those kids all around the district all day, every day. And so that's just a commitment to where we are with regard to making sure the students have that experience. And then we all know about the jewel of the district, the Career Tech Center, 1,200 riders all day long, just shuttling back and forth to get them where they need to be on time and safely. Beyond the school day, since August 13th through September 15th, we had over 1,500 special trips, and that is football, that's band, that's cheerleading, that's volleyball, that's all those extracurricular things that really enhance that student experience. This transportation department has been committed to making sure that those opportunities are fulfilled for students. Staffing. This year, I'm very proud to say, and again, I won't read these numbers to you, but we partnered with HR, and they've been a great partner in making sure that we get positions filled. It makes a difference when you have the staff to run that department over there. And Scott and his team and Cliff and them, they've been committed to making sure that that's happened. Want to draw attention to the driver attendance, 96% attendance through that first month of school. We can't do what we do if drivers aren't there, and they are excited about it, because they're not having to work as hard because we're fully staffed. And so, again, that partnership is something to be proud of. Just a little about the fleet report. We got 117 regular ed, and special ed is kind of creeping up. We got 109 special ed buses and 40 activity buses and another fleet of support vehicles. We always try to balance the fleet and making sure that we keep new, fresh buses on the road as much as we can. So when they age out and have 10 years or older and maybe 150, 160,000 miles, and we try to age them out. And so as a result of the most recent bond, we've purchased 40 buses, will be by the end of October. We've auctioned out 30 this year, but this is only for this year, starting, I think, July 1, Jason. We may have auctioned, I know we've auctioned out more previously, so just trying to balance that fleet and stay fresh on there. They want to just provide some feedback from administrators and parents. This was really heartwarming when you consider where we were last year. This is what the administrators and some parents are saying about their experience in the transportation department. And so kudos to that team for just really taking where we were last year and moving it and growing from it. A lot of meetings with special ed department to try to collaborate and make sure that we get off to a better start than we did previously. So thank you, Jason, to you and your team for answering the call, basically. You were made aware of this award on the left, 2025 Driver Concern Employee Traffic Safety Award that was presented by the board, and we just found out about maybe 2 weeks ago that the department will be receiving another award in November in Galveston, I believe, from TASBO. And so they've invited us to come and receive that award, and they said that they will come back here to make a presentation to the board if necessary. Again, this is an external recognition of the work that's going on in that department. Now, last thing I want to talk about is a comprehensive customer service platform called Let's Talk. This was a big initiative of the department to kind of respond to where we were last year. This is all about customer service and getting parents the information that they need in a timely manner. So just through that point in time, we had over 2,500 chatbot responses where parents were to log into the system and ask a question and get an answer to that question without having to wait 2 or 3 days to get a phone call return or an email return. We kind of piloted this as a department for transportation, and I believe we're looking to expand that across more departments after we kind of got the kinks wrinkled out of it in transportation. But I think it's been a great opportunity for the community, and our team in transportation is really excited about it because it kind of lets them get to doing what they do while getting the parents the responses that they need at the same time. Still working out some of the kinks, but I think it's been a great product for us, and we're looking forward to continue to expand it. So with that being said, we'll take any questions that you may have or more discussion about the transportation update.
Thank you, Dr. Hill and Mr. Gillis. Any questions, comments from trustees? All right, Dr. Smith.
I wanted to make sure you know, trustees, one of the great things about that Let's Talk platform, and we are looking at expanding that across our system, is we have the ability also to monitor how we're doing. So we have some data platforms that allow us to be able to see what kind of questions are coming in from the community, how quickly we respond, and also allow the community to rate us in our customer service with them. So if you think about the volume of that, in the past, 2,500 calls would have all been via email or phone call before. And now what we're doing is with our own information and our own data, using a platform, we're able to get that to people quicker and allow our transportation staff to follow up on the phone calls and the emails as appropriate if those answers aren't available in the AI opportunity there. It's been a significant win for us so far because we're able to track how quickly we're closing some of those concerns. And I don't know because I don't look at your email, but my gut tells me that your email inbox was a lot lower this year regarding transportation concerns than in the past. And that's thanks to the effort of these gentlemen here tonight. So I wanted to just make sure you knew what was going on there and why.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We actually do have Mr. Wilbanks.
Thank you, President Chapa. And I was just going to make that comment. My inbox has been close to nil, if not nil, on this topic, unlike some previous years. And the wheels on the bus are definitely going round and round in a good way. So I just want to say kudos to you guys. This Let's Talk, all the proactive steps with y'all's leadership is just, it has not gone unnoticed by our constituents. I've had people out walking their dog stop by and tell me what a difference they've made, that you guys have made from past years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. It's good news. All right, we have one last report item today, and that is item E. We'll have a report on a potential employee child care program. Dr. Smith.
Trustees, I would like to welcome up Scott Kale and Holly Stambaugh to come on up and give you an update on our, I don't want to say plans, but opportunities. And I want to thank our HR team because they've been working on this and had worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and really honed in on what are more benefits that we can provide for our staff in Arlington ISD. And they took the lead on this quite a while ago and have been working on it for quite a while. And we have some exciting updates to provide for you tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Good evening, board members, President Chapa and Dr. Smith. Holly Stambaugh and her team have done the real hard work here, pulling a lot of these details together. So I'm going to turn this presentation over to her. I'll be here to answer questions as well.
Thank you, President Chapa, board members, and Dr. Smith. I am pleased to be here this evening to bring this proposal for an employee child care benefit in efforts to promote recruitment and retention, and ideally to create a student pipeline beginning with this program. As Mr. Kell mentioned and Dr. Smith, this has been a several-month project that we've been working on. There's lots of market analysis and data that we've collected that I'll be presenting this evening. But this child care benefit would be for employees of the district from who have children 6 weeks old to 3 years. The model is beneficial to our employees is because we don't have to have the facility costs because we already have that embedded. So in doing that, we can provide some cost-efficient models for our employees, which will put money back in their pocket. And so we also looked at history of leave data. We wanted to see how many leave requests do we get a year. And so over the past few years, we average about 120 maternity and paternity leave requests. Below, I itemized a couple of campuses. In a minute, I'm going to explain why I did that. But those are the proximities of those maternity and paternity requests at those 4 campuses listed below. What this means is in any given year, we have 360 Arlington ISD employees who could benefit from this program. Because if you have a 6-week-old, every year you have 120. So in one period, you could have 360 Arlington ISD babies up to 3 years of age. So we did some local market data to kind of understand what this cost is for our employees outside of what we could offer. And we see that the average monthly expense is about $1,250 per month. And so our goal in this plan is to reduce that cost by about 30% at about $900 per month for infants and $850 per month for 12 months to 3 years of age. We also partner with David Lewis, and he said that the cost for breakfast and lunch is $2.50 each. That's the cost for the child nutrition program. It may be slightly elevated for the employee, but that's an option we can also give if they don't want to pack lunches. They could get a breakfast and lunch from our program, and that would help benefit the child nutrition program as well. We went and did some site visits around the district, myself, facilities with Kelly Horn, and the Director of Risk Management, Kurt Fernandez. And we are recommending Sherrod Elementary. And you can see in the image, I've highlighted that Sherrod's on the north side of the Arlington ISD. This would be a smaller childcare facility with about 45 children. And then there's a Hale/Beckham. That means Hale or Beckham option, and that is on the west side of the east side, of the Metroplex. And you can see those are on the Mansfield Grand Prairie side. Both those campuses are designed the same way, and they both have spacing options available. This would be a larger facility with 80 plus children. It depends on the architecture and how we develop that campus, but 80 plus is what we're estimating. And then an alternative option that could be considered is Miller Elementary, which is on the west side of the Metroplex. The state mandated ratios for the child care program is a little different than K through 12. You know, we hear 22-1 for K through 4, but for the state mandated ratios for child care is vastly different. So, for example, if you have an infant in the classroom and there's 10 infants, you would actually have to have 3 workers. So we went ahead and identified what that would look like, and that's how we came up with our staffing models on the next slide. So what we're proposing is to hire a coordinator from the beginning of the program. That coordinator would partner with facilities to work on getting some of the projects organized and done. They would work with the purchasing team to order supplies. There had to be cribs and refrigerators and all different type of things. And then that coordinator would then hire the managers. Now, the way it works for state licensing is the managers would actually have to oversee the whole licensing for each each facility. So that manager would have to go through all of that. We would ask the coordinator to go alongside with them, but they would have the ownership of the licensing for those locations. And then assistant managers are not required but recommended, because if a manager is not there, there has to be another manager there in presence. So that allows for the primary manager to be making sure operations are running smoothly, and a partnership with an assistant manager, and also just to have that second person. And then you can see, depending on how many children per class, we've estimated the workers, and then a floater, because we want to anticipate that somebody might call in sick, and we want to make sure that there's coverage of all of our children. So with that, there's a total project cost estimate. That's renovations and supplies. That estimate's a little over $10 million. We got this in partnership with Kelly Horn, who worked with an architect to kind of look about, what that would look like. One thing I do want to say is there are some unique things to this program, as far as having to have certain plumbing, having to have restrooms close by or recommended in the classroom for potty training purposes. So some of those that's the reason why you see some of this cost. You also have to have unique playgrounds. I learned that, and I have my children haven't been in daycare in forever, but a 1-year-old can't be on the same playground as a 3-year-old. So you have to have different playgrounds. So we're also anticipating some staffing costs before facilities open. That's because you have to have so many hours of training. If you have someone who's newly hired who hasn't been in this profession, they require 48 hours of training. Not to mention we'd have the classrooms to be set up. So we're estimating about $300,000. This does include benefits. However, we can project that we will receive $1.1 million in estimated revenue by opening a Hale Beckham or a Sherrod, and that's based on those rates at $900 for the infant and $850 for the 1 through 3-year-old. And so with that, our yearly staff cost estimate is about $860,000. Now that is for 12 months. And so this would give us an annual revenue of about $253,000. Now we can expand on this program in the summer. I don't know exactly what that looks like today, but if we wanted to continue to offer this during the summer, then that would also bring in some potential additional revenue. Last, I do want to share that the board does have the flexibility to utilize bond funds. That would be at your discretion and your approval. The 2019 bond program was under one general bond proposition, and it did not require projects to be adopted. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Stambaugh. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith for just a moment.
Trustees, I didn't do a great job introducing this tonight, and I should have. I apologize. This is a report, so please know that there is no action that we're asking you to take this evening. We wanted to get this in front of you to field questions, check your pulse on this before we potentially brought to you some proposals for action. And I did want to point out in the last slide, Ms. Stambaugh noted that there could be the use of bond funds. That would take a board action to do that. Those are the facilities costs. But bond funds could not be used for any of the personnel costs, et cetera, that are outlined in that slide. And I want to be really deliberate about saying that publicly. So tonight, really, this is about asking questions, sharing sentiment, things like that from your point of view. We are not asking for action this evening.
All right. Trustees with comments or questions? Ms. McMurrow.
Thank you, Ms. Stambaugh, Mr. Kale. I recently, you guys brought this to our Finance and Academics Committee, and then now it's a board presentation, a report. But I have not stopped thinking about it since. Been thinking about it for a long time before that, and I'm just really excited that we're exploring this. I think that this move, although costly, it would directly align with all of our board priorities and offer our employees some well-deserved childcare at a more affordable amount. And we want our educators to not just come to our district, but stay with our district. And a lot of times our employees, they have to choose whether or not to stay, employed after that maternity leave or that paternity leave, because daycare is so expensive. And I'm really excited at the thought of offering childcare just for Arlington ISD employees' children too, in our own facilities. So I just wanted to put out there publicly that I want to do whatever I can, whatever we can as a board to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMorrow. Mr. Mike.
Thank you for the presentation. Yes, I was there at the committee meeting when this was brought up, and it's very near and dear to Ms. McMorrow with regards to this project, but I think it's a good project. I don't think it's too costly. I think this is a wise and prudent use of monies, especially if we have the ability to use some bond monies to build this out. And then, just as even outside of a smart decision of investing monies into something and you're making some monies back for the district is wise. But when it comes down to the culture that we're talking about, and you look at other districts who already have this in place, this is something that I think should have happened a long time ago, and I'm glad that I'm here to see it evolve. And I think it's just going to be wonderful, not only for the teachers and their children, but it gives them a head start in Arlington ISD to create that pathway of, you're here already, you might as well continue that trend all the way to 12th grade. So this hits on all levels, and it hits priorities, and it hits goals, and this is by far one of the best presentations I've seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Any other comments or questions from trustees? All right, seeing none, I have a couple questions. I'm so happy to hear this being brought forward. Ms. McMorrow has been talking about it for years, as well. It's something like this. In the way that it's being thought of, we kind of have you're making an opportunity out of something that we have been perceiving as a challenge also on the facility sides, where we've got some campuses that maybe 10 years ago, they were entirely full, but now we've got some underutilization going on. So this is a really creative way to address that. I will just, because you're getting feedback on this, so just my thoughts are, I do think the price point is going to continue analyzing that. I would be comfortable with generating a little less revenue if we can get the cost down a little further, especially at the beginning, to make sure that we have enough folks who want to use it. And a question I had on that is, would we roll this out slowly and maybe start at one campus, or are we going to do it at the different campuses that are identified all at the same time?
Okay.
And then if we don't get the numbers we think we're going to get, are we going to open this up in some way to the community, maybe at a different price point, to make sure that those seats are filled, to make sure we get this off the ground and sustainable?
Thank you for the question. So we actually think that we are being relatively conservative in how we're proposing to open this. Of the 4 sites we listed, those are 4 kind of finalist options, but we're only really considering opening at 2, one at the larger capacity and one at the smaller. And we think that based on the projection of the FMLA cases, and we went back and looked at the paternity leaves and estimating just how many students it serves, we actually think we are being relatively conservative in the capacity that we're starting with, so that we're not over providing supply at the beginning. We also, and Holly and her team have done such a good job, but I told them when we started, I really wanted, she'll nod her head here in a minute, but if she disagrees with me, but that I really wanted to get a 20 to 25% reduction off of market rate, right? And we're right on that right now. And as you saw, it actually comes in below that. Mm-hmm. So the costs, because I know there are a lot of numbers up there, the costs that we're talking about necessary for the district to invest really is primarily the upfront startup costs from a facility standpoint, and then it's self-funded. And it's self-funded to the extent that the projections at the moment, with a relatively conservative assumption of the demand, is that we're still going to have revenue. So to your point, President Chapa, yes, I think we could probably drop the rates a little bit further.
Okay. And I mean, I'm looking at the staffing model, and the compensation seems competitive as well. This looks like a win. And I have, just looking at the map, if we get down the road and the demand is there, I think, a centralized location maybe on the smaller side might help. I mean, we have a density of campuses somewhat central to the city. These all look good. I mean, I think on the map, because they're all adjacent to major highways, they wouldn't be too difficult to get to, for especially for commuting folks. But you know, it is a big area to cover. We do cover a big area, and so if we could find identify maybe a more centrally located place down the road, that would be.
So we also tried to look at, or Holly's team to look at where those leaves and maternity leaves were popping up in patterns, and so the recommended campuses were a combination of where do we have excess capacity and space, and what generally speaks to offering a solution at other sides of the district rather than putting in the middle where everybody has to drive, trying to target more to where those patterns were of the maternity leaves combined with the capacity itself. So we can certainly look at other options, but we were trying to use those variables as our filters.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. I just want to reiterate that this is a great thing to do for our staff, but it totally aligns with what we've been talking about for a long time on staff recruitment and retention, because at a certain point we have a finite amount of money and we can't just give all the raises that we would like to get, but we have been very strategic in getting to the forefront on the compensation side directly. And so then, you know, Mr. Hogg, when he was on the board, used to talk about total package compensation. I can still hear him talking about it. And so when we get down to what else can we do besides direct pay, it's things like this where this is in a way pay. If you can get 25, 30, 35% off a discount on childcare, which a lot of our teachers are, you know, 2-parent working families, they're going to be encountering these costs no matter what. So if we can give the parent, you know, a cut on what they need anyway, that is putting more money back in their pocket. I know it's not everybody and it's a smaller number of folks, but this is a big stressor on teachers who by and large are folks in their early 20s, if they're young parents, and that's just a really stressful time of life. And it's enough of a stressor that maybe we're losing some really good folks who decide that the costs are just so much, they decide to one of the parents stay home. And so I think all the way around, this is one of the things that we can do very strategically to be a more attractive option for the folks who might want to come here, and a really good selling point for the folks who want to stay here.
So if I may, a regular question I got asked for the first 5, 6, 7 years I was here was, couldn't we find a maternity leave or disability policy that was more helpful to manage those costs for young families and young moms in particular? And that's such a challenge because, as we all know, insurance companies, if they know that the cost is coming, they're not likely to give you a break on the amount of the premium. They're in business to make money. So the idea of an insurance policy solving that price point problem for our employees with maternity leaves and young families just wasn't a model that was ever going to work. And I absolutely feel like this is a model that will work. And to your inference a moment ago, when it is successful, we always have the capacity to grow it further.
All right. Mr. Wilbanks.
Thank you, President Chapa. And I would also like to channel our former colleague, Bowie Hogg. And it is really about that total cost to our employees. And with rising insurance premiums, this is one way we can offset those rising increases. I'm curious, though, looking at the map and the proposed sites, what factors did you look at in terms of how many employees live out of district, where they're coming from, that or make up that group of the 120 a year that go out on maternity leave? And it's not just where they live, it's where they work. And so you got to balance, but it seems like that's a hard puzzle to solve.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good question. So we narrowed it down to the pattern of where they work, because we knew that that's where they were going to be during the work week, obviously. And within that, what was the cluster of where those FMLA cases were coming up, combined with which major thoroughfares were near them in terms of access, combined with actual facility capacity based on K through 6 or whatever that campus might be, to have space to put the facility. So we took those three variables into account, and that's how it ended up with the recommendations that were in the presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is that accurate?
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Kell, Ms. Stambaugh, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
That concludes our report portion of our agenda tonight. We will move on to action items. We have 3 items for consideration. Our first action item, item A, is approval of a capital needs steering committee. Dr. Smith?
Trustees, based on our presentation last month, we bring to you the formation of a capital needs steering committee, and that is what we're asking for action on in this item. The subsequent item after that is the charge itself. So this is actually to form the committee to study the potential for a future bond election and bringing the community in to do so.
All right, is there discussion on approving the formation of a capital needs steering committee? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the formation of a capital needs steering committee to consider a potential future bond?
So moved.
Mr. Wilbanks. Mr. Wilbanks has the motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Haynes. Mr. Wilbanks, did you have any discussion on that? Okay. Trustees will now move to vote. Ms. Richardson, I'll call for your vote. It's separately. All right, Ms. Richardson, can I get your vote? Ms. Richardson, you're muted. All right, can you give me a thumbs? There we go. I will take that thumbs up as a yes. All trustees present voting in the affirmative. Ms. Richardson is in the affirmative. The motion carries unanimously 7-0. We'll now move on to action item B, approving the Capital Needs Steering Committee's charge. Do we have any discussion on the charge? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the charge as presented?
Motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Fowler. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Ms. McMurrow. Trustees will move to vote. Ms. Richardson, I'll call for your vote separately, and I can see you, so I'll call for your vote now. That I see yes. Can you show me your thumb? There we go. All trustees present voting in the affirmative. Ms. Richardson voting in the affirmative. The motion unanimously carries. We'll now move on to our last action item for tonight, item C, approval of the 2025-2026 key progress measures. Dr. Smith.
Trustees, Dr. Collins is going to come up and we're going to do a little bit of a joint presentation here. I've never heard at the dais. Can I see your thumb, please? So this is an exciting night, and I'm excited to bring you these key progress measures as well. As a reminder, these are based on the district performance objectives that you adopted last time. These are important things because these signify the most important work that our administrative team feels in the system to hit the targets or the priorities that you have adopted as a board. So tonight we'll present and talk you through that real briefly, answer any questions along the way.
All right, thank you, President Chapa, trustees, and Dr. Smith. We are excited to continue the conversation that really we started a couple of weeks ago at our last board meeting, as Dr. Smith mentioned, regarding our district improvement plan and our performance objectives. So this is kind of the next step in that conversation. So tonight, we are going to be looking specifically at our district priorities and asking for consideration on our key progress measures. At the last meeting, we discussed the recommended changes to our district priorities. And so you'll see here one of the graphics that our communications team has put together. They have a slew of graphics already that they've started working with, where you'll see talent and resources there instead of just their resources, and then the change to the definition. And so this is just a reminder slide to you that all of the work that we're talking about with our KPMs are grounded in these priorities. We're trying to carry forward the work that was begun last year, and these are the next steps in the work that we believe with these priority areas. As we think about the formation of our key progress measures, just a reminder that we have those priority statements. So we have the priorities listed. We have the goals, so they're like the definitions of those priority statements. And then we have those key progress measures. And so the key progress measures are traditionally written in a SMART goal type format. Some of the KPMs came from performance objectives that we discussed together last week, and we pulled those out because we felt like those were high leverage strategies that we felt like would make a large difference in the work that we're doing in Arlington. Some of the KPMs that you're going to see tonight came from the strategy section of our district improvement plan. So they may be things that we haven't talked about directly during a board meeting, but I think that we're going to try to draw that connection for you so that you'll know exactly where those fall in the district improvement plan. So this is the graphic from 24-25 that we all know and love. And so, again, you'll see the priority on the left, the definition or goal in the second column, and then the key progress measures from last year. So what we're doing tonight is we're proposing that we update the priorities and definitions with the new language, and then we're going to fill in those blanks there on the right, because all of this work was last year's work. And so now we're moving on to the 25-26 school year. We believe this is the highest leverage of work that we're bringing to you tonight, and that the work that we're bringing are the adult actions that will make a difference in our outcomes for students. Some of the KPMs that we're bringing to you tonight are lag measures. So this is vocabulary that we use a lot, but for those who may typically, lag measures are easier to measure, but it is old data. It is results from the past, and it is virtually impossible to change after you get that lag measure data. Lead measures instead are about the inputs. They are sometimes trickier to measure, but it helps us to predict that future performance. And so something else that you'll notice as we look at our recommended KPMs is we've labeled them lead and lag measures, because we believe it's important to have both as we think about each of our different goal areas. All right, so this format looks similar to what we looked at 2 weeks ago. But instead, these are the things that we pulled out specifically for KPMs. Again, I'm not going to read everything to you, but I'm going to kind of talk you through the different areas. So up at the top, you'll see academic growth is that goal area. You'll see the definition there. And then the first recommended KPM is our House Bill 3 goal. We had a similar goal last year around House Bill 3. For those who don't know, House Bill 3 includes third grade reading, third grade mathematics, and CCMR. And it has lots of student demographic data as well, broken out with House Bill 3 goals. So if you think about our district improvement plan, the reading section and the math section captured right there, and then the CCMR section as well.
Trustees, one thing I want to point out on that too, while she brings this up, is on the House Bill 3 goals under academic growth. When you adopt the KPMs, these are the goals part of my evaluation as well. So that's why these are important. The alignment to your priorities, the district improvement plan, and how you hold me accountable as a superintendent is what's really important to stress in the system. And so as we're presenting these tonight, you know you have an obligation to the state to actually hold me accountable for progress on those HB3 goals. That's why these are the key piece right at the beginning. That is a legal requirement that you have.
Thank you. The second academic growth KPM that we're recommending is around structured literacy. We've been talking a lot about structured literacy. It was not in our performance objectives because instead it falls as a strategy under improving our reading goals. And so we are elevating that as a potential key progress measure. And we believe that that's a lead measure. It's something that we can track over the course of the year. And as we're tracking that, we can make tweaks and changes so that ultimately we will see a change in scores for students. And then the third academic growth KPM that we're recommending is around our curriculum management plan. And you'll see whenever you look at our district improvement plan that the curriculum management audit work fell under goal 5, which is about resources, because the curriculum management audit captures a large swath of the work that happens around the district. It's not just in academics. But one of the recommendations that we know is going to come out of the curriculum management audit findings is that we need to write a curriculum management plan, which is very academic in nature. And so this KPM that we're recommending, even though some of the curriculum management audit work lives in goal 5, we are raising it up to be specifically here in academic growth. For culture, the first KPM is a lag measure about the Net Promoter Score. So 2 weeks ago, whenever we talked about Net Promoter Scores, we didn't have the metrics labeled yet. You did see in a board bulletin over the last couple of weeks those scores that we're recommending. And so you'll see Net Promoter Score for our staff survey listed here under culture. But again, that's a lag measure, right? We'll know at the end of the year how people felt like we did. For our lead measures, you'll see that we want to engage students, staff, and families in defining that desired student experience. And so working together to figure out what is it that we want to see happening for every student in our classrooms every day. That is work that we are doing, and we believe that that's a lead measure as we're adjusting that student experience and improving that would then help us improve outcomes for students. And then the third lag measure there is to reduce the number of campuses having a D or an F rating in the state accountability ratings by 50% or more by August of 2026. So we know that our campuses are more than a score, but we also know that we have to set students up for academic and post-secondary success. And so we want to make sure that we are reducing the number of D and F campuses that we have here in Arlington, and we want to call that out as one of our KPMs.
Trustees, I want to add on number one under culture. We mentioned this in our workshop tonight as well. Part of the audit that we did from NSPRA last year on communications and marketing told us that we have a challenge when it comes to our staff being promoters of our school district. And so that's why you see that's a significant jump from 24 to 30. We have to have targeted strategies to start to address this. And we believe this is a priority for us for the year. It is a stretch goal. We spent some time talking about that, but we also believe that we can actually achieve this if we have the right focused efforts throughout the year. So this is a priority that we think is going to matter for us as a school district. I'll jump down to the next one on the student experience. We've used that language some over the past 18 months since I've been here, and I think it's time to start to really define that now. And here's why. When people ask me about the perception of public education in the state and in the nation right now, one of the most important things that I hear all the time is that there's a lot of noise and a lot of conjecture out there about what's happening in schools. But there is one fact that I know. And that is that if a student has a great experience during the day and they tell their parents about that in the car on the way home or at the dinner table that night, do you know what the parents tend to say about the school? It's that great things are happening at that school. And so the more clearly we can define the experience that we want for kids each and every day and how we want them to feel when they walk through our hallways and sit in our classrooms and ride the bus, the better off we're going to be overall it being able to tell our story effectively as a school district. So that's the reason that that part's in there. And then finally on number 3, we know that this is part of the system in the state of Texas is the A through F ratings in our school districts, and absolutely believe that we can have all A's, B's, and C's in our district. It's going to take hard work, but we believe that we can do it. And again, I want to stress what Jennifer said. Our schools are more than that score, but we also know we have to take accountability for that score, and that's what we intend to do.
All right, so our next area you got to hear a lot about already this evening from Dr. Jarko and Dr. Hill, but safety and discipline specifically, we have a lag measure and a lead measure identified. So the lag measure is around the procedural effectiveness factor score from our annual staff survey. So we want to hear from our staff, are we getting better with our campus safety working conditions? And so we believe that lag measure was something that we identified last year, and we want to continue working on that. And then the lead measure that we have listed for safety and discipline is kind of continuation of some of the work from last year as well. So last year, our KPM was to have every campus write a plan. And so this year, what we want is for 100% of our campuses to implement their behavior support plans with fidelity. And then the evidence would be about observation and coaching from the Office of School Leadership. So that Office of School Leadership includes our executive directors that support our principals directly, but it also includes our behavior support specialists. And so having them as a part of this work, they're going to be able to help us as we're supporting those campuses and to provide the evidence of what that's looking like out there in the system. Marketing and engagement, we have both a lag measure and a lead measure. So you'll see that Net Promoter Score has been moved here for marketing and engagement whenever we're talking about parent and family survey. And then for the lead measure, we want to measure the impact of a targeted marketing campaign to re-engage families that have chosen charter school options by the spring. And so really targeting that work and identifying maybe why it is that students are leaving, and then what it is that we can do to bring them back. And so the goal is to re-engage families.
Two things I want to point out on this slide. 41 to 42 doesn't seem like a big jump, but when you're talking about a Net Promoter Score, in actually 41 is a really good Net Promoter Score for, I think it's, Natalie, is it very good? Is the category very good that we fall into with a 41? She doesn't remember. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to be in trouble for that. Sorry, Natalie. But that's a challenge, and we believe wholeheartedly that we need to continue to push on this. Again, we want more promoters of our school district ultimately. And then that second one about marketing, as I've mentioned to each of you, we need to take a different approach at this day and age with our competition. We have competition, and we have for a number of years here. We have to start to study what it is, what the reasons are for people leaving our school district to go to charter schools, and how we can effectively tell the story of Arlington ISD to those families that have made that choice and bring them back. And so this key progress measure is really about studying what messaging we need to do for those charter school families to try and make a thoughtful, targeted campaign moving forward.
It's great.
It's great. Yes.
It's great. It's great.
It's a great category. So for the Net Promoter Score, 41 falls
Thank you,
into
Dr. Lopez.
great. Thank you.
All right, and then our last goal area is the talent and resources area. So number one is the same language that we discussed in depth last week about reducing the general fund budget deficit. And so we believe that that is so important that it's something that we want to be held accountable for this year. And so we know that that is big work. Things like zero-based budgeting, fall underneath that area as some of our strategies, but this is the work that we want to be held accountable for. And then for our lead measure, we want to develop and implement a comprehensive program evaluation process that directly supports our district priorities by the spring. And so, when you think about a comprehensive program evaluation process in a district the size of Arlington ISD, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of programs that we have here in this district. And so we need to, determine what makes a program. We need to prioritize those programs. We need to figure out how to tier and to design, kind of the cyclical system of what it will look like to evaluate programs over time. We need to think about gaps and redundancies and celebrations, right? Like, it is a large undertaking, but we are very excited about this work because we believe that it will help us to maximize the way that we're using our resources in the system. So those are the KPMs that we are recommending, and again, we are seeking action this evening.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Collins. Trustees, comments or questions? Mr. Mike.
Thank you, Dr. Collins, for a very detailed, wonderful presentation. And it's good, right? We get these before the board meetings, and when you're studying it on your own, then you formulate a lot of questions. So it's always good to hear it. For me, things that jump out are huge percentage point jumps.
Yeah.
And so to hear the explanation is really good. But then also, if you put it in context with the workshop that we had tonight with regards to communications, and if we're talking about increasing this Net Promoter Score for the staff, what we learned in that workshop on the things that the marketing team and communications team are trying to do to increase this experience of the culture, it takes the heartburn of the huge increase down to, I think it's achievable. So I think that was the one thing that stood out to me when I reviewed it. But you've already reiterated points that we've talked about before, and I still love the part under the talent and resources with regards to the budget. I just think it shows the competence level that we have here with regards to the superintendent and the administrative staff, to take that into account where you want to focus on reducing that budget while putting in your guardrails. And that's something that you hear across the state of school districts not being able to do. So it's just a wonderful experience to see that occur. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Ms. McMurrow.
Thank you, Dr. Collins and Dr. Smith. I love these KPMs, and I appreciate you putting them side by side with last year's key progress measures that went under our priorities, because you can kind of see the progression. Like, for example, we want to conduct a curriculum management audit and present actionable insights. Now that we've undergone that, next step is to create a curriculum management plan. So you could really see the progression. I just had a couple questions. I know that we are wanting to see evidence of structured literacy in classrooms. I'm curious what the thinking was behind that versus just monitoring M-class data. Can y'all provide some insight on that?
Yeah, I think two things on that. One is we know that we already have a lag measure that we have to hit for all of this, right? And we're going to monitor the data no matter what. But the most important thing to change that data is the actual change of practice in the classroom. And so that's why we put that lead measure in of being able to say that every one of our teachers, and trust me, this one scares me a little because it says all. That's really a big lift, okay? But we know that the way to change that data that we have for students, whether it's M-class data or it's STAR data, we know the way to change that is through the practice of the teachers in the classroom. And we're not saying in any way, shape, or form evaluative data. We're saying the professional learning that we're investing in and that we are using those days for in our calendar, we have to see that translate into the practice in the classroom, and that's why we chose that.
All right. And then question about the levers under just jumping around to marketing and engagement. I know that we are aiming to measure the impact of a targeted marketing campaign to re-engage families that have chosen charter school options. Why charter schools? Are we considering looking at all of our levers, like including levers that have gone to other ISDs with open enrollment, or just kids who we've lost in our system to charter campuses?
I think that's a great question. We honed in on the charter school population because, to your point earlier, this built on work that we presented to you this last year. As you recall from our demographer presentation, we had some very targeted focus on the students that are living in our district that are choosing charter schools in that number. And so what we believe, based on the data from the state, that charter schools don't usually outperform our school district. And so we wanted to really hone in on that's a population that we believe if we do this well, we should start to be able to get back into our school system. So that's why we chose the charter school group in particular. Sometimes when you have leavers go to other school districts, it can be because of family job, it can be because of a whole host of other areas, and we felt like charters, they were actually choosing a different option within our school district, and it probably wasn't for any other reason other than that charter school being there.
That makes sense. I do believe that a lot of the things that we have in place, we also do have the conditions to get our students to stay here in Arlington ISD as opposed to any other school choice. So thank y'all for answering my questions. I'm really excited about these key progress measures. I think they are truly smart goals, even though they are lofty in many cases, they're definitely achievable. Thank y'all for all the work and thought that went into this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. Mr. Wilbanks.
Yeah, I too am pretty happy with what I'm seeing here, and I think they are achievable. I know some may be a stretch goal, 100% of teachers adopting a new literacy framework, but it's important, and I'm really happy to see that as our big bet on literacy and improving our scores. Quick question on the academics slide on the goals on academics. So yeah, my only qualm, Sarah mentioned that these are all great SMART goals. I'm developing a curriculum management plan seems more like a tactic and not a SMART goal. And normally I'd like to see an actual measure there that affects academic growth. And so that's one of the things, like earlier you talked about structured literacy. Well, you had another one that was similar, but at least you had, we're going to have 100% of teachers implement it with fidelity. And so I think that's, we got a good measure there. We know what done is and where we've reached that goal. This one seems a little more, and my only lament, I like this and I agree that's going to be huge. My only lament is that, there's not a actual measure there that's easily definable.
I totally agree. And frankly, we debated this one a little bit, but there was two reasons why this landed on here. One, when we talk about lead measures, we're not only talking about for this academic year, we're talking about long-term. And one of the key pieces of feedback that we've continued to get is that our curriculum needs to evolve in some way, shape, or form. So by developing this plan, and when you talk about a curriculum management plan, it's how we manage the evolution of our curriculum in our system. When we go through the cycles of review and improvement along the way, that curricular input to our student performance matters. And so what we wanted to do in this was hold ourselves accountable, one, to be able to say, we're going to use these audit findings and we're going to deliver on a product that we know matters long-term this year and begin implementing. And two, that we're actually going to invest in the system that allows us to adequately address the curriculum changes that we're going to need to address because we know it matters so much for our teachers. So this was really about ensuring we're holding ourselves accountable to making substantive changes for our teachers in a timely manner because it's really big work. And I think you all realize the enormity of curriculum in a system this large and for this many grade levels and subject areas. So we have to have the plan and we have to have the system in place to start to turn those things around. And that's why we listed it here, because we believe it's such an important investment for us long-term for that academic growth.
Yeah. And thank you, Matt, for that explanation. I'm not disagreeing with it. It's just it seemed a little squishy and not as smart as most SMART goals are. But I agree, it's the importance to our system is vital.
We had a pre-conversation with our auditors who were in the district over the last few weeks, and they talked with us a little bit about some of the findings that they anticipate are going to be in the final report. And writing the curriculum management plan really is that foundational work that has to happen, and it will include things like policy, it will include things like assessment frameworks and those kinds of things. The curriculum management plan is very specific in the eyes of the curriculum management audit report that we'll receive, where we'll be able to check off those things. And so I think that you'll be able to see some of that once we get that final report from our auditors. It'll help us feel a little bit better about what does curriculum management plan really mean. We know exactly what those expectations are.
Yeah, and so for the next year, I see we'll have the data we need to develop true KPIs in this area.
That's correct. That
are really aligned to changing student outcomes.
Yeah.
So the next one I had was on the culture. You have one item that I thought would be in the student achievement section, and that's item number 3. And so just explain a little more why it's here and not there.
Yeah, this isn't just about academics for us. It's about a culture of high expectations and the excellence that we want to see in our schools. And so to me, this is that notion of continuous improvement and owning that notion of continuous improvement and what we want to become as a school district. You all know, and I'll continue to say it, I will always take accountability for our scores and ratings, but our schools are far more than that. And we believe that this really is a significant measure of the culture of our system of constantly working for improvement and excellence. And by putting it here, it's not just about the scores in the end, it's about us constantly striving to be better.
Yeah. And then the last one is on the last priority, talent, and resources. So item number 1, to me, that looks like 3 SMART goals. So 1, 2,
There's 3 parts.
3, yeah. Is there any talk about splitting that out into 3 KPMs or KPIs?
The conversation that we've had together as a senior staff and cabinet team about the specific goal is that we have to do it all together or it won't be right, because we could reduce the general fund deficit by 33% and check that off. But if we're having to use fund balance and take money out of fund balance to make that happen, that's not going to be okay. Or if we reduce what we're paying for or what we're setting aside for instruction so much so that we can reach that budget deficit and close that, like that's not okay either, right? Like we really do believe it's a 3-piece goal that comes together. We're going to have to measure and track them all individually, but we believe really in order to get credit for reducing the general fund budget deficit, we have to do all 3 things together.
Yeah, like 1A, 1B, 1C.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah. No, and I know that's being pedantic. So, no, I agree with all of this.
Yeah.
And just, I think, we've got a lot of change and a lot to measure towards our goals. But I think this does a good job of measuring what matters.
Thanks.
And to that end.
I won't lie. Number 1 also worries
Terrifies
me.
all of us.
That is a big lift. But to your point, like we've talked about this one, like those guardrails on this, again, as Jennifer said, we can reduce the budget. But to reduce it and maintain that fund balance that we know we want and need to maintain while also ensuring that that dollar amount impacts instruction, that's a really big lift, but we think it's worthy of holding ourselves accountable to.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Any other comments or questions from trustees? Well, it's been said, these are very aggressive goals, some of them, but they're also in the realm of aggressive but achievable, and I think that that's where we want to be. On the talent and resources, number 1, Dr. Smith and Mr. Wilbanks were just talking about it. Again, just want to highlight that the goal here is we try to do a lot of things with the money that we have, and we try to do them very efficiently and responsibly. And the most responsible thing to do is not always to just say, in 1 year, in one fell swoop, we're going to eliminate the deficit. The vast majority of districts in the state at this point, even after the relief we got from the last legislative session, are still in a deficit mode. But I've said many times before, we are very fortunate to have built up the fund balance that we did so we can strategically draw upon it to give us the runway that we need to not take drastic steps that other districts are taking. And I think that approach is encapsulated here because we're going to give ourselves the runway to do it in a way that doesn't create a lot of shocks to our system like some of our peers are seeing and having to undergo right now. And so we're fortunate to be in this position. I can't emphasize enough how aggressive some of these are. I know some folks are going to look at some of these KPMs and say going from 4.0 to 4.1 on the working conditions, or 41 to 42 on the net promoter externally, and then 24 to 30 internally is huge. But all of these involve changing hundreds of people's minds. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. We're saying that we're going to do things differently, and it's a new day, and we're changing culture, and the only way to do that is to change minds. And that's a slow process, but I think these goals give us something very strong to work towards. And other than that, I don't have anything to add upon what my colleagues have said. This has been a very interesting experience for me in my 8 years on the board to have from a board level, started with priorities, then delved down even further, and now we're at the key progress measures again for this year. And having gone through that experience once, I'm really looking forward to how we're going to deliver on it this year. And I have every confidence that that's going to happen. Thank you.
We are seeking action.
Yes. We would like to approve these aggressive goals. Thank you, Dr. Collins. If there's no further comments or questions, we will now move to vote. And Ms. Richardson, I will ask for your vote separately. Okay, trustees, oh, we do need a motion. Sorry. Man, I am. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I have a motion. I'm going to give that one to Ms. Fowler. I'm going to go ahead and give the second to Ms. Haynes. All right, now we will move to vote. Ms. Richardson is a yes, so we have all trustees present and Ms. Richardson in the affirmative. The motion unanimously carries. The KPMs are approved.
And I just want to say thank you, trustees, for faith in our team for this work that we're going to undertake together. But I just want to give a shout out to our senior staff team, because the original list of KPMs that was drafted was, like 8 or 9 per goal area, and just the conversations that we had to have to prioritize and to whittle it down, like hard conversations really pushing on each other. And that lets you know you're working with a team that's going to be able to make it happen. So look forward to doing that. Thank you.
All right. We'll now move on to the consent agenda portion of tonight's meeting. Are any trustees wishing to pull items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to vote on consent. Do I have a motion to approve consent? I have a motion for Ms. Fowler. I'm going to go to Ms. Fowler for all my motions tonight. Is there a second?
A second.
Second for Mr. Wilbanks. All right, trustees, we're going to go vote. And Ms. Richardson, got your vote. All trustees present voting in the affirmative, and Ms. Richardson too. Consent unanimously carries 7-0. We've already gone through the non-agenda forum for tonight, so we'll move on to Superintendent's comments. Dr. Smith.
Trustees, if you would like, I would be glad to email you my report along with my slideshow, given that it is 10:22 p.m. and I want to respect your time. If you would like me to read my report, I'd be glad to. It's about 42 minutes. No, just kidding. All right, we'll do it real quickly. I'll read quickly.
Let's proceed.
At the last meeting, I started my superintendent's report with football, so let's do it again because we have exciting news. We have Glaspie Field, and Glaspie's home teams, Martin and Seguin, clearly like their new stadium because they didn't just win their first games last week, they cruised to big victories. Seguin started it on Thursday, defeating the Colony 68-30, and then Martin raced past Grand Prairie 65-6. We're excited about our formal ribbon cutting next week on October the 9th. Our students at Ashworth Elementary turned their school into a Pinwheels for Peace garden last month. They do this every year. The students make colorful pinwheels, and the Seguin band and cheerleaders, along with APD officers, visit and join the call for peace. A few of us got to help Chef Juan Flores, a Sam Houston grad. I'm really upset that this picture of me in there looks horrible and Justin is smiling. I just want to point that out. Yeah, I know. It was the hairnet, I think, that was on there. And to introduce his street tacos to our students last week, the owner of Taqueria Saltillo partnered with David Lewis and our Food Nutrition Services team to bring his chicken al pastor tacos to all of our campuses. It's another great partnership with our community. Then 2 days later, our secondary cafeterias introduced another new item, Buffalo Chicken Quesadillas, developed by our culinary students from Sam Houston. Enough about chicken, let's talk about beef. Our FFA students were thrilled to have a special speaker at their last meeting. Dr. Jeff Savel, I think is the way I pronounce it, the Vice Chancellor and Dean for Agriculture and Life Sciences at Texas A&M University, who spoke about meat science, cuts of beef, and Texas's distinct barbecue traditions. He is arguably the world's leading expert on barbecue, so it is a big deal to have him at our Ag Science Center. I want to thank City Council member Raul Gonzalez, who provided dinner from David's Barbecue for everyone who attended. Let's stick with the topic of food. Everyone in here knows Preston. Preston Wynn, the 2021 Martin grad who won the World Food Championships as a teenager. Well, last week he was on an episode of the Food Network's Beat Bobby Flay, and this week Preston was announced as the inaugural executive chef for the future Caravan Court Hotel going up on Division Street. The retro luxury hotel is scheduled to open next year. Finally, I really enjoyed our time at the Arlington ISD Fatherhood Connection Breakfast last Friday, seeing how our family and community engagement team is inspiring and working with dads from across the district to be engaged with their children's schools. I think you all know this. This is not normal in other districts. Our teams putting on these types of events and celebrating this is super special for our school district. So special thank you to Aaron Perales and his team. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We'll move on to trustee comments tonight. I have a couple lined up, and we'll start with Ms. Fowler.
Thank you, President Chapa. If we can get Spence, there we go. I am super proud of this group of high school students. They showed up last Saturday. We had the Arlington Education Foundation Gala, and it is a huge event with a lot of work that has to be done setting it up. And these high school students got up on a Saturday morning and showed up at the Medal of Honor Museum to help set up. And I understand that the people that were the people that run the Medal of Honor Museum were so impressed with these students that they gave them free passes to come back to the Medal of Honor Museum. And I just want to say a shout out to Libby DeKine. She is a student at Arlington High. This is Coach Binky from Seguin High School, along with Eric Gonzalez, Tyron Marshall, Angel Tina, Kadarius Trotter, and Micah Bolden. And they were there bright and early, ready to do whatever needed to be done. And I just appreciate them so much from Seguin and Arlington High. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. We'll move on to Mr. Wilbanks.
Thank you, President Chapa. And my colleagues up here know I am not a morning person, but I got up at 5:30 this morning so I could drive over to Arlington High at 6:30 to attend the oral presentations for Kristen Crocker's Theory of Knowledge IB class. And I had the distinct pleasure of watching those presentations with our very own Dr. Zeski, who presented to us tonight on advanced academics. And in her presentation, she mentioned that our kids were stepping up in a big way, thinking critically with rigorous content and taking deep dives in the knowledge that they're acquiring. And there was no better example of that than Kristen Crocker's Theory of Knowledge. 3 of her students gave oral presentations this morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was blown away. They are exemplifying those qualities in a big way. A shout out to Anaya Butler, who is a Richard Green Scholar, Ella Robbins, and Abby Moore. Abby Moore actually has the distinction that they're going to start a new women's baseball league in the United States, and she has been invited to be part of the draft for that league. So she will be one of the first in this era women baseball players in the United States. And not only all 3 of these women, young women, gave amazing oral presentations that really exemplified the value of IB in our district and IB classes like the Theory of Knowledge, and really making sure our students are exceptionally prepared. As you know, some of those students who've gone through that very class, one of them is now a Rhodes Scholar. And I think educators like the ones that were here tonight and Ms. Crocker are doing phenomenal, amazing work with our students and opening up so many amazing pathways. And just a big shout out. I can't really express how blown away I was by the topics they chose to talk about, and really just how polished and poised the 3 of them were. I was so excited. I'm going to go back and get up at the crack of dawn on Monday and go here around 2. I wish I could go tomorrow, but seeing how we're now at 10:30 and I've got a big presentation tomorrow as well, I'm probably going to skip out on tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Ms. McMurrow.
Thank you, President Chapa. Really briefly, I just want to thank Trustee Haynes and Trustee Mike and Superintendent Dr. Smith and Tynan Northington for joining and helping facilitate last night's trustee talks. We had not a whole big turnout, but the folks that came were very engaged
and it was wonderful to talk about future facility needs with a room full of people who care so deeply about the student experience here in Arlington ISD. We hope that we can get even more people from the community to join us at our next trustee talks, which will be January 14th. And I know that's far away, but please save the date because our board loves to engage with our community through these talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. Any other trustees with reports tonight? All right. We'll move on now to our secretary's report. We have no matters reported for further consideration, but I do want to point out that our secretary, Ms. Richardson, is not here tonight because she is representing our board at the National Convention for the Mexican American School Board Association, of which AISD has long been a member and our students have received scholarships from. So thank you for representing us, Secretary Richardson. We have no further items on our agenda tonight. We have no matters to discuss in closed session, and so us having no further business, I will adjourn this meeting at 10:31 p.m.